This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday to you, even though it doesn't really feel like Friday. Very weird week with Canada Day on Wednesday, but it is Friday. The weekend is just about here. Canada with their big World Cup match tomorrow. Bombers on Sunday. And wrapping up Winnipeg Jets development camp today, including a visit with Jets general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff with the assembled media today. Chevy spoke in the last hour or so. We've got a whole bunch of that for you. And Ken's going to join us a little later on to talk about development camp, the start of the show, Vigo Bjork, as well as all of the young players that will be looking for jobs come the fall in September at Winnipeg Jets training camp. It's going to be a real fun one. We will talk CFL. I mean, I know when we've been doing the Cool Bet lines, we've been talking about how the scoring in the CFL is out of control and they cannot make these lines high enough. It was 61.5. First time we'd seen a total go over 60. The Argos and the Stamps put up 94 points last night. Marshall Ferguson did the game. He's back in Hamilton. He'll be calling Bombers Ticats. We'll talk about the crazy start to the year in the CFL and what the Bombers need to do to have a better result than week 2 when they played Hamilton here in the Peg. Ben Wagner will also join us a little later on for his thoughts on the games. We'll get into this with this. Ben's great with numbers and stats and whatnot, the additional plays, how this is happening, and we'll pick his brain maybe for a few picks coming up this weekend. Listen, we're going to get right into Chevy. Before we do that, though, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Lots of great promos on the weekend, as well as some exclusives for the World Cup game. Princess Auto, Judd's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Manitoba Battery in Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, your World Cup headquarters. Boston Pizza, make your rezos now at your local BP for the big game tomorrow at noon. Little Brown Jug, St. Vital Dental Center, Rolly's Transfer, Assiniboia Downs, the Gold Eyes, Travel Manitoba, and we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. And we'll be keeping an eye on the Socceroos, Australia and Egypt going at it right now in the round of 32 out in the World Cup. Shout out to all you podcast listeners and welcome to everyone hanging out live in chat today on YouTube. And welcome to you, Michael Remis. What is up?
Yes, Hustler, it is Friday, although as you mentioned, the weeks are messed up with the midweek Canada Day. But I'm in a great mood. Yeah, we have some Winnipeg Jets on the ice at development camp. And yes, CFL this season is out of control. Last night's game with the Stampeders defending the Stampede Bowl title, and you saw them on stage celebrating with the trophy that they stole from the Bombers last year. Still mad we didn't get a rematch, but how about this as we get into Jets? The Stampeders has, in the Stampede Bowl, 2-0 now with a 95-52 point differential, and both games were a pick'em. So the Stampede Bowl bump is real, and the guy calling it yesterday, Marshall Ferguson, pretty cool that he's coming on today because he's going to be calling Bombers Ticats on Sunday.
You know, I thank God I started VA over Cody Fajardo on in my fantasy team last night. VA had 48 points. He was 20 of 25 for 405, 6 passing touchdowns, no picks, and one 22-yard rush for a touchdown as well. Just an all-time game from Vernon Adams last night. And they win running away from the Argos last night. As I said, we will touch on that with Marshall Ferguson a little bit later on. But hockey fans have enjoyed maybe taking a little bit of time off. There's some great crowds out at the at Jets development camp, Remo. And I'm looking forward to having Ken on because it's easy for us just to fall in love and be so focused on Vigo Bjork. And by all accounts from the scrimmage today, it's hard not to do that when watching him play. But I am interested in finding out, where Kevin He's at, Kieran Walton, Zach Daring, I believe, spoke today, a bunch of the other players that might be up for jobs coming up this fall, both with the Jets and the Manitoba Moose. But let's face it, it has been all about Vigo Bjork. And, I want to start this off because we're going to get into Cheveldale's comments. Obviously, Vigo, a huge part of the future, Hellebuck trade, all of that. And I don't mean to do this to dunk on Darren Dreger. But it has been a rough week for Dregs, Reem. The Ovi, the Ovi report that all indications point to him retiring, and then the Caps throwing out a video less than 24 hours later with him signing his contract and coming back. Listen, guys are going to be wrong about that stuff. I think, in that it was he didn't have anything concerned. That was just sort of a feel of his from what some people were saying, and it was whatever. People, in that line of work, people take shots at you when you're done. But there was something pertaining to the Winnipeg Jets that I think freaked a lot of fans out. And it probably didn't do the Jets any favors considering things that have happened in the past with some of their younger players. But this was basically a comment about Connor Hellebuck and the young players. And if it's the conversation was more about keeping Hellebuck happy, but this got a lot of run in Jets circles. We'll play this and then we'll get to Kevin Cheveldale. But this was Dregs earlier this week talking about the Jets' young pieces and if it's enough for Helly to maybe come around to sticking around here.
They keep talking about some of the kids, Bjork is going to likely play in the National Hockey League. He's not a centerman, but, he's a capable player. So they do have some interesting internal pieces.
Now, I think a lot of people were freaked out by that because, of course, he is a centerman, or at least has been, is drafted as one. The Jets have a massive need for that, but we have seen players like Cole Perfetti that got very, very short periods of time at center and then had been moved to the wing. And I do know that, with a younger player, an 18-year-old, if they're going to go right into the National Hockey League, it is probably easier for them to go to the wing. And listen, we all know that Dregs has the line into Chevy's office. We talked about this at the beginning when all the news was breaking on Hellebuck. And what we heard from the Winnipeg Jets camp sort of through Darren Dreger was really telling about just what this situation was. So, we got to respect Dregs' line. I think this was just an off-the-cuff remark that either was just a straight-up mistake, I'm not sure. But I don't think it was a lot of people took it, though, that, this means that the Jets have drafted this kid and they're just going to move him to the wing because they think it'll be easier. That's the way they see him. So I'm going to get to this right off the bat because there's a bunch of other things. But, my inbox and DMs have been what's going on with the club? This was cleared up quite early today. This is 12, Remo. Cheveldale was asked by Mike McIntyre directly on the positional plans for Vigo Bjork. And I think a big reason for the question is because of what we just heard from Dreger. Here's what Chevy had to say to Mike today.
Kevin, with Vigo, do you envision maybe him starting as a center and see how that unfolds? There's been some talk. We often do see young centers maybe start on the wing? And what's the plan with him, or is there one at this point?
Yeah, no, Vigo's a center, period. So from that standpoint, I guess we'll see how some things unfold. Obviously, there's several steps that, have to happen along the way. We've had some conversations with his representatives, actually, and Vigo himself and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. It's an exciting week for him, and lots of things, unfolded. And again, I think as an organization, we're all excited that, we have him, and we'll see how some things unfold.
All right, so, pretty clear. Vigo Bjork is a center. They drafted him as a center. They have massive needs as a center, at center position. That was their guy, and they got it. So, again, whether this was just a slip, I don't mean to make this kind of dunking on one of the insiders because, we rely on a lot of their information. But for everyone that saw that clip that thought, oh, my God, Vigo Bjork, he's not even going to get a chance at center, that is not the case with the Winnipeg Jets. It was pretty clear from that answer right out of the gate that they envision Vigo Bjork as a center. Bjork, on his part, spoke today, and here's his response to Kevin Cheveldayoff saying that he is a center.
Yeah, well, you never know what happens. The idea could be like playing center, but who knows? I make it send out to the wing or might play in the middle as I want. But you got to be able to adapt to new things that happen. But that's what I want to do. So that would be amazing.
Pretty clear of where his intentions are, Remo. But as a young player and a guy that seems to say and do all the right things, just looking for his opportunity. But this is a good kind of clearing of the air on anyone thought that Vigo Bjork was destined to be a winger in the short and long term with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I just think you look at what's happened with the Winnipeg Jets, where you draft Cole Perfetti and you think, hey, this guy is going to be the center, and hasn't really got a chance, especially last year when they really needed any production from the second line. And he, didn't have a great first half because of his injury, but really came into his own there in the second half. And Gabriel Velarde's a guy who was known as a center as well and hasn't got a shot at all. So when Darren Dreger, TSN's #1 insider and has been, a communicator of some big Winnipeg Jets news, goes on overdrive and says Vigo Bjork is a winger, you kind of think, hey, are the Jets doing this again? Drafting a guy at center at 8 overall and then just moving him to the wing while saying, hey, we don't have a second line center. We really need a second line center. I think it was confusing to some. And, maybe he wasn't thinking clearly. I don't want to go through his thought process, but it was confusing and nice of the Jets to clear up that information today at development camp, where Vigo Bjork, certainly the star of development camp in terms of on the ice and off the ice, signing a number of autographs. They did have to ask him, Huss, if his hand was getting cramped from all the signing that he's been doing. And, we had that good feeling of development camp a couple years ago with Rutger and Colby Barlow. And, we had the Rutger drama later. It seems like that spark and that excitement that you get from development camp, certainly there with this year's 8th overall selection.
Yeah, it was great. And, they had a picture with all the Swedes together, and then the Jets put out the honorary Swede, Braden Yeager, who was right in there in the middle with the Swedish bunch. So, we'll talk to Ken coming up, who's there. It certainly seems like the vibes have been high all week, and a big part of that is the Jets' #1 pick. There you have it. The Swedes there, along with honorary Swede, Braden Yeager. Remo, just while we're talking about Bjork, just finishing off, because we want to get into free agency and, all the other moves, big picture for the club. Just here's number 10 from the list, Remo, if you can get that one up. This is Chevy on Vigo Bjork and his week with the organization in development camp.
You become a fan. I think all of you probably saw that there when he's got the puck on his stick. You want to watch and see what happens next. But again, it's an exciting start to a real good relationship here. And we're so fortunate to be able to to draft him in the position that we did. And it's going to be a great thing for the Jets moving forward.
So there is, a little bit. I mean, I think, hey, there's a lot of new Vigo Bjork fans in town, and people that that have been paying attention to draft stuff beforehand, or ones that have sort of dived in, or maybe just hung out and watched what this young man was doing over at development camp. This is a little bit more from Chevy in the aftermath of free agency on the opportunities for young players going into this season.
We're looking to make changes. We're looking to get faster. I think, all the signings that we made on the skater side of it all can skate. They all can, whether it's D, they can move a puck. Everyone's got some different tangible things, but again, that's certainly an area where I think you're going to see a different group come September out there, and that'll be exciting.
All right, so really with some depth signings, and obviously Ferraro and Skinner, we haven't seen the Tanner Pearsons, the Gustav Nyquist signed this year, which should open up a little bit more opportunity for some guys to go in and make the most of training camp and, try and earn a job, or at least a look at the start of the season. Of course, free agency July 1st was, I think, a really productive day for Winnipeg. It wasn't volume, but two good quality signings. I thought a great term and number. Here's what Chevy had to say about July 1st.
It was an interesting July 1st. I think obviously set out to fill a few of the boxes that we needed and had available, and actually it was a long day. I think obviously Ferraro didn't fall into place until fairly late in the day. We hung in there, and very thankful that it worked out in our direction.
There's Chevy on the Stuart Skinner and Mario Ferraro signings. What is interesting, and had been noticed, we talked about with Hammer yesterday, the fact that Chevy was negotiating Stuart Skinner's contract with the agent who also represents Connor Hellebuck and is looking for a change of scenery. Here's what Chevy had to say about that.
Well, I think obviously everybody's a professional in the job that they do, whether you're an agent or a general manager or a player, and every situation and circumstance has its own nuances. But we're really excited to get Stu. I think he's someone that I know, talking to Wade Flaherty over the years, is a player that he's always talked about and felt that if he had a chance to work with, could do some really good things. I think you've seen over the years, obviously Wade's done a great job and has a great reputation around the league. As someone that can really get the best out of goaltenders, and I think that's that's something that really appealed to Stu and the opportunity to work with Wade.
But from your part, it wasn't weird or awkward or anything like that, then?
Just very professional.
Yeah.
All right, so it's all very professional, but Stuart Skinner is a Jet. Ray Petkow inked that deal, and Ray Petkow obviously probably having quite a few conversations with the Jets about his other client, number 37. Here's Chevy just on the goalie situation as it stands right now in early July heading into this upcoming year.
Again, we're excited about the opportunity to add him to the organization, and that's what we really focused on. I don't think there was any, plan A or plan B or plan C with respect to, what's next. It's, July 1, you have a unique opportunity to add to your organization without having to give up anything. And generally speaking, it's a tough day for us, when you try to go after your number one targets, but we were able to land both our number one targets in each position.
In each case, I think Ferraro and Skinner each said one of the things they heard about you guys was that you treat people well. And I mean, Skinner, with the agent connection, with knowing who he knows and all that sort of stuff, nobody would know better than him. And to what degree is that a feather in your guys' cap and something that is what you're hoping to make Winnipeg Jets' identity?
Well, I think that is something that is really important to us. Is that we create a family atmosphere here, and when we say it, we mean it. I think there was no other kind of scenario that was more when the whole team went to Mark Scheifele's dad's funeral. Those are things that again, when you're a family, you are a family, and you try to treat people with respect. And the the game can be frustrating at times. Obviously, everybody wants to win, and everybody, is full of emotion when you don't, and that's good. That shows that, the drive to win is there. But at the end of the day, as an organization, we treat everybody equal.
Something happened to your microphone there?
Sorry about that. Obviously, Remo, just get 5 ready if you can. Now I understand why you weren't responding to me. I was muted, self-mute. A big part of the Stuart Skinner acquisition, is giving him an opportunity to kind of come to a place with a fresh start. And as we heard Skinner speak yesterday, incredibly highly and quite excited to work with Wade Flaherty, who has done incredible work with a number of former Jet goalies. Here's Chevy just on what it is that Wade Flaherty has been able to bring the most out of Jet netminders.
Well, I think he's obviously has his beliefs and how things should be done, and I think he's got a great relationship with them. He builds those relationships over a period of time, and there's a level of trust that I think gets developed. And goaltending's a very unique position. Even when we were talking through the draft, Drew McIntyre is a big influence on that. From a scouting perspective, most of the scouts' knowledge on goalies is stop the puck doesn't stop the puck, so you have to have those kind of people within your organization that you believe and trust in.
Yeah, how much do you and your scouting staff lean on Wade and his word of the guys that you're bringing in?
Yeah, well, again, it's still a group, collaboration. I don't want to, obviously overstate or understate, but again, as an organization, we're very collaborative, and the goalies have a big influence, or the goalie coaches have a big influence on, the thought processes of goaltending.
And I do wonder, Reem, if the reputation of Wade Flaherty within goaltending circles, potential. Like I'm thinking about a situation like Pekka Luukkonen. If UPL was coming back to Winnipeg in a deal, or frankly, whether he was deciding whether to put Winnipeg on his 5-team no trade list or something like that. If the situation was that Hellebuck is coming into Buffalo, which means starts are going to be few and far in between. He's thinking about, do you accept a trade, coming to a place where you'll have a open competition for playing time, presumably, and being able to work with a guy like Flaherty with that track record. It's got to be something that actually helps the Jets in one of these rare situations that things might not be going against Winnipeg, because for goalies, it's like head coaches. There's 32 jobs in the league that are that can be number one. Number one is not going to be in Buffalo if Hellebuck shows up there. So I do wonder if that sort of helps the Jets with a goalie piece coming back that may have trade protection, knowing that there'll be opportunity and a guy that is really taking goaltenders to the next level.
Yeah, well, I think we saw it with Laurent Brossoit here, who, again, another former Oilers goaltender who came here twice and had career years. So you've seen, Connor Hellebuck, what he's done with his career and the opportunity to work with a guy like that, potentially. We'll see what happens. I think there were a number of things that were attractive to Stuart Skinner. And I always think, hey, there's only 32 starting goalie jobs. Well, there's got to be more than 32 capable starters in the world in goal. So I did like the move for Skinner. It's only a 2-year deal. And maybe, the Jets, with improvements on defense, just addition by subtraction, signing Mario Ferraro, I think they are going to have an improved defensive group. Now, there's still a pretty big hole on the second line. Secondary scoring, not really consistent for them last year behind the Scheifele, Connor, Velarde line. But maybe they do have something. You got to take a couple steps. And look, if they do move Hellebuck and get a player who can help with some secondary scoring, that would be a boost as well. And Skinner's shown at times for stretches he can be a guy, and maybe they find another guy who's back up. Last time I checked, the Stanley Cup winning goalie for the season was picked up off of waivers last season, and we've seen teams retool goalies. So, it's not even opening day, so we can't really discuss what the Jets roster is going to be. But as of right now, I think they're on a better path than they were, this time last year. I'm seeing a comment from T. Will saying that Chevy making safe moves, no big swings. Not enough to help.
What were the big swings out there on July 1st this year?
Well, we know what the Jets are going to do. I don't think they made the team worse with their moves like they did last year, signing Gus Nyquist and then playing him until you said the trade deadline, he never play again. That was a move that made the team worse. The moves at the deadline last year made the team worse. They did not make the team better, and I think the moves that they made have improved the team's chances this year.
I'll be honest. Listen, I've been around here long enough to realize what the Jets are up against in free agency. And considering that constant with how weak overall the free agent pool was, I was not expecting anything close to what they got. Listen, to get Skinner in here, knowing how important it is to have a guy like that with the, depending on how you feel, impending possible trade of Connor Hellebuck at the dollars in term, I thought was awesome. And Mario Ferraro is a guy that is definitely going to be a big upgrade on the third pairing of the Jet Defense Corps. Listen, as I say, I'll wait to see what was the big swing that realistically the Jets could have been in on when it came to a free agency. I missed it. I thought this was as good of a July 1 as this team's had. I'd have to think about another one where, sometimes they would have signed a couple players, but they always had to vastly overpay. They were guys that had been passed over by 10, 12 other teams. Didn't really seem that way this year. I did see Dan Jets fan wondering about the Hellebuck situation. This was a quickie. This is 9 Remis. Here's Chevy with the Connor Hellebuck update.
Connor Hellebuck is a Winnipeg Jet, and there's really no update at this point in time.
Last week you said that you were listening to offers on Hellebuck. Have other core pieces reached out to you about kind of what the plan is? They signed long-term with the idea that the plan was to win. What's kind of your take on that?
The plan is still to win.
All right, so pretty straightforward from Chevy. Helly's a Jet until he's not, and they're certainly not looking to. I think it's quite clear with what they've did yesterday. They're looking to. Listen, if that trade does happen, you got to hope that it's something that's great for the team, both in the short and the long term. But let's get back to Ferraro. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about goaltending right now. This is 6, Reem. Chevy talked about the second signing on July 1st, and that is former Sharks defenseman Mario Ferraro here in Winnipeg on a 3-year deal.
Well, I think for us, obviously, we focused on, again, there's lots of changes. There's going to be a lot of changes to this team when you come to training camp and see, the different things out there. I think we're a much faster team. I think, you look at the back end, with Ferraro there, he's, kind of a good all-around player, can move, can skate, really competes. Again, is excited about the opportunity that, that is here for him. Again, there's lots of guys, I think, that, when you talk to them, even after their exit meetings and stuff like that, they had some down years, and they're, looking forward to trying to get back to the levels that, that they were at before, whether it's injury-wise or just, for whatever reasons. Those are the things that, you're looking for come September.
All right. Now, here's Chevy on the rising cap and the impact of that on free agency, which just before we hear this answer from Chevy, part of the reason why I'm still a little surprised that the 2 guys they were able to get came in at the numbers that they did. Jay Fresh, the goalies may be a little different, but there were some really interesting comparisons to Ferraro to a number of defensemen that got in excess of $4 million. And some people were kind of wondering, how did the Jets get this guy at that price. Here's what Chevy had to say about the ad on the blue line, Mario Ferraro.
I do think, that, again, the cap, there's a lot of money in the system that, wasn't there before. A lot of times you see some moves made for, people to maybe shed cap and stuff like that. Some of those moves, maybe did happen, but maybe not as, not as many. It's interesting because, you still have a 23-man roster and you still have all those, different variables, that do come into play. And again, July 1 can be a good day for sometimes, and July 1 can be, something that you wake up the next morning and say, what did I just do? So we're fortunate that, we woke up and we're still pretty excited about, the things that we did on July 1.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Ferraro coming in 3 years, 4 AAV, and Stuart Skinner, 3.75 AAV on a 2-year deal. Didn't really get too much into Noah Gregor, but got a lot of NHL experience. It's a 2-way deal. He'll be looking to earn a spot in that opening day lineup. There was a question about Shane Doan. He'd come in to meet with the club. Is something imminent? Here's what Chevy had to say about their conversations with Doan.
I think, Shane came to town, several weeks ago, and I think just had a visit, but I'm not sure that there's anything more to that than just a visit.
Right, so it doesn't seem like a lot happening on the Shane Doan front for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, there was one veteran who was out at development camp, and that is the captain, Adam Lowry. And I did joke that maybe he's just doing some extra work to look great for his wedding, which I believe is this summer. But obviously, Adam's looking for a big summer to have a big bounce back after a season that saw him miss a bunch of time and sort of struggle through that recovery at times. Here's Chevy on the captain and the captain's participation at times in development camp.
You talk about commitment, and you talk about professionalism, and you talk about what it takes to be a pro athlete. Obviously he was part of our first draft class here, and came through these type of development situations and stuff like that. And I think it probably really made an impression on him when veteran players, showed interest and cared about younger players at this stage of it. And, I think that's all part of it. But Adam went through a tough summer last year, and again, when you can't train the way you normally train, during the summer, it, sometimes it takes some time to come back. And, even, different things like that. I think, you saw with Fetz there where the high ankle sprain and, the long break in the middle of the season, I think, helped a lot of those guys to catch up, in a lot of respects, from maybe the lack of being able to train or doing some different things to get back from their injuries.
All right. Now, one guy we haven't mentioned until the end, Fetz, Cole Perfetti. He is an RFA. Here's a little update from the general manager on Perfetti's RFA status and where things stand.
Well, again, it's a different phase of contracts now where, he has arbitration rights and if we don't have a deal done by, I think it's the 5th, I would assume he would, file for, arbitration and those type of things as a natural process. And if he does, don't get too excited. It's just, part of the whole thing.
Why not?
Yeah, well, give you guys something to talk about, I guess.
Now, one final one from Chevy, and this is just overall thoughts on what he's seen at development camp this week out at the Hockey for All Center.
Yeah, again, I haven't been able to be here too much this week, given, the constraints of July 1st and stuff like that. But today was fun. It's fun. It's fun to come watch and fun to come see. There's obviously different guys. You're watching the progressions now for several years. I thought Yags looked good out there. I think it's an important, summer for him. Naring's a player that we've, again, had, been keeping, close tabs on, looking forward to him having a great great year in college this year, and getting that opportunity, hopefully to turn pro after that. And Boumediene always jumps out after you when you just watch him skate and move, and he's changing schools to going to Ohio State, and I think he'll have a massive role there this year, and really be a key contributor there, and his growth in that side of the game will be something that we're really excited about. I'll go on and on. It's a fun time to see. We're going to be a young group with the Moose this year. Lots of guys, turning pro for the first time. You saw a couple maybe depth signings over the period of time, but it's going to be on the shoulders of all those young players to come in, and some of them are first years, some of them, need to continue to take steps, but that's what it's all about.
So a lot from the GM today to kick things off. We will dive into it more, as well as development camp overall with Ken Wiebe coming up in about 20 minutes. First up, though, we're going to talk a little CFL and get ready for Bombers Ticats with Marshall Ferguson. Before we do that, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating and Electrical, proud sponsors of the Bombers, and of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Clean Line is Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg and the greater area. Know that Clean Line has your back 24/7, and you can call for emergency services whenever you need it. Remember the number 204-500-2001 for the best in residential and commercial plumbing, and of course heating and electrical services as well. If you'd like to talk to them about a project or make an appointment, you can schedule it online at cleanline.ca. Another big summer weekend coming up. Do you have your batteries ready for, is it your boat, your dirt bike, a motorcycle, ATV, a side-by-side, maybe a golf cart? Manitoba Battery has you covered. Your local option where you can shop locally and get the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores with batteries for literally everything. 2 locations as well to serve you. Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive in the South End. And of course, they'll also help to keep your schedule a little clear. Manitoba Battery can deliver those batteries to you as well, anywhere inside the perimeter. Pop by and see them in store. Give them a call or order online today for all your battery needs at the best prices in town at manitobabattery.com. And hey, if you have a move planned for the summer or into the fall, don't hesitate to get in touch with our longtime partners, Roley's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years, family owned and operated. You can check out all of Roley's history, services, and story at their great website at roleys.com. In the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when and where you're moving, what you need to move, and the friendly staff at Roley's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Roley's has been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Roley's, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today over at roleys.com. All right, Ken Wiebe coming up in about 20. Let's get ready for Bombers Ticats and discuss the insane scoring this year in the Canadian Football League with a guy that called 94 points last night on TSN, our guy Marshall Ferguson. Marsh, first of all, thanks for coming on today. That's a quick turnaround from a busy day at work yesterday for you, my friend.
Yeah, it's all good. I thoroughly enjoy taking the short commute to and from Calgary from Hamilton, Ontario on a winding Thursday. That was how yesterday played out. So it was a good one, and thankfully VA made it worthwhile for me to get back and forth across the country. I love telling my Uber driver, he's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Toronto." He's like, "Where are you coming from?" I'm like, "Toronto." He's like, "When?" I was like, "This morning." He's like, "You're going back now?" I'm like, Yeah, that's how this works. Yeah, I got to get back because I got another game in about 48 hours.
I mean, just quickly on last night's game, we've been looking at the totals for the games all season long, and it's just been like insane offense. The poor sports books are getting killed. They cannot make these numbers high enough. We finally got to A total and over-under yesterday of 61.5, over 60 points. And the Argos and Stamps put up 94. I mean, just thoughts on how this offensive explosion is taking over the league right now. And do the defenses have any chance at all?
There was a point in the 2025 CFL season where the defensive coordinators I had heard kind of had to come together as like a meeting of the minds, because they're like, guys, we got to figure out something. This is not sustainable, right? And I'm wondering if we're already getting to that point here in 2026. I thought Paul Lapalisse made a great point when we were on the broadcast last night, which is if you usually get a team that's up in the 40s, maybe in the 50s, like the Calgary Stampeders were, it's typically because they've got 3, maybe 4 passing touchdowns, and then you get like a pick 6, and then there's a kickoff return touchdown, and then it wasn't any of that last night. It was just the offense going totally crazy. So, especially with the rule changes that are coming and what we've discussed about, there's going to be more offense and we give better starting field position and it should be, less field goals and more touchdowns and this, like all of the things that are kind of planned in terms of the evolution of the Canadian Football League. I got to be honest, after last night's game, as I was coming back, like I was sitting on the flight ready to take off from Calgary on the tarmac, and I was thinking to myself, what kind of points are we going to get if the offenses stay like this and we have all of these alterations to the game? Because I'm slightly concerned that we might be reaching into like the 60s and 70s casually at various points and start looking like the Arena League. Because like I remember when I was a kid and you would look at like indoor football league and be like, yeah, the final score was like 72-58. And it was, yeah, that's just the way the game is because it's like track indoor football, right? And in the CFL, I like high scoring. I like entertainment. Don't get me wrong, but there's something to be said for the value of a touchdown, right? I forget what the country is. Maybe Zimbabwe. I remember the old story of like the inflation where essentially they just kept printing money over and 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 over again. And you start going, all of a sudden the Zimbabwe dollar didn't really mean anything because points need to have value. So full credit to the offenses in the CFL at the start of the season, but the concept of inflation comes to mind when we're dealing with point stuff. As of right now, it's kind of happening organically. It's just that you can't defend, and I think a lot of it is that quarterbacks are getting wiser and wiser as time goes on. We've hit this sweet spot where the younger quarterbacks are playing at a high level, and the veteran quarterbacks have seen so much that they already play at a high level where it's like it's so easy for Bo to identify coverage and get the ball out where he wants it to go. And the same thing with Vernon. He's like, I used to see things that really frustrated me, and now it's like, well, no, it's the coverage is telling me where I need to go with the football. And yeah, the way that you can see quarterbacks identifying and getting the football out quicker as well, now that we have those metrics like time to throw from the snap to the throw, you can just see tangible data of these guys have figured it out, and now the defenses are just chasing to try and catch up.
I mean, there is a time, not just yesterday, but games throughout this year that reminds me of that. Remember the Mahomes-Mayfield game in college? I think Mahomes had like 8 touchdowns. They lost like 66-59 to Oklahoma. I mean, it's just back and forth. I mean, video game stuff. And you mentioned the defensive coordinators. And I think in Winnipeg really felt this at the game at home against Hamilton, where they didn't have an answer for Bo Levi Mitchell. He basically looked like he had tons of time. He knew exactly where it was going, and there were basically no incompletions. When your offense runs at that level, it puts so much pressure on the defense, but also the other offense to catch up. And obviously, that didn't happen. But I mean, for teams like Winnipeg going into this game against Hamilton with high-powered offenses, I mean, where are things at with the defensive coordinators, and how urgent is it in those defensive meeting rooms to figure out or maybe do something a little differently so you don't end up getting a 50 burger put on you like the Argos had last night?
Yeah, I sympathized with the Argonauts for 2 reasons last night. One was that they had probably schemed just about everything you possibly could to take away Mackay Polk over here and DeMonte Coxie over here. And then, we'll let Dave Unger have his scraps over there, but Kevin Mittal underneath. Yeah, okay, we can deal with that. But then it was Chad Kelly's legs. And the reason that was such a an unfortunate set of circumstances, I would say, for the Toronto Argonauts, because they didn't have Dakota Shepley and they moved Peter Nicastro from center over to right guard, and then Domenico Piazza moves into that center spot, first ever CFL start. You would think, well, that's going to mean the pocket gets dented and that's a really negative situation. But the reality is, if the pocket gets dented and Chad Kelly knows he needs to get out of the pocket consistently because he can't trust his protection up front, then when he breaks the pocket, everything is open down the field. And so like Calgary's defense, which doesn't blitz nearly as much as any of the defense around the Canadian Football League, are essentially rushing with 4, hoping they get there. But if they didn't, Kelly's breaking the pocket and looking downfield, making these big plays. The other part of this is that, like you say, the pressure goes on to the offense that is playing second fiddle to the one that is firing on all cylinders. So Calgary and their offense and Vernon Adams Jr. are playing out of their mind last night. And Chad Kelly doesn't really have that bad of a game. But if you make 1 or 2 poor decisions that turn into interceptions, now you've gifted extra possessions and short fields. And sometimes that's all it's taken here early on in the season. I think we had a stat, there was of the 14 games going into the opening night of week number 5 on Thursday Night Football in Calgary, one team had more turnovers and had won the football game, and it was Saskatchewan against Calgary earlier on this year. And so when you throw an interception or 2 and you give a short field and then the other team gets points off turnovers, that might be all it takes, because the margin for defeat in a head-to-head battle of high-powered offenses is so small between the two, because the offenses have been playing out of their mind. If Chad Kelly throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, you're like, he won, right? It's like, well, the other guy threw for almost 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. So that's not actually a good game anymore, because the scale has slid so far up the road that, it puts immense pressure on the quarterback who is chasing. The thing I do think still applies, regardless of what the score is or how many points are on the board, is that you can tangibly see the level of aggression and desperation change, whether it is 10-6 in the third quarter or if it's 48-36 in the third quarter. Because if teams know, hey, we're probably only getting 3, maybe 4 possessions here in the next quarter and a bit, we got to make the most of it, you can feel that tension in the game still go up. And I felt that from Toronto last night, and they couldn't answer what Vernon Adams Jr. was doing. So it makes me wonder the rest of this week whether that was an anomaly or if the offenses are going to continue to develop and get better. And we're going to keep seeing these crazy high scoring numbers because the team that's trailing by a score, maybe 2 scores, just can't find a way to track down the other club.
It's funny. I mean, we're in a kind of tennis season right now. Wimbledon's going on, but I mean, it's almost like if you're going up against a high-powered offense, it's like in tennis, you need to hold serve. I mean, one broken serve can be the difference. I mean, you have to get yours. And obviously, by your example, I mean, the worst thing you can do is turn the football over and give those flips of possession. You almost need it the other way. I mean, looking at the Bombers right now, listen, they're 1-2. We've talked about all these super high-powered offenses. They're last in the league right now with 75 points. And the defense has had its moments, but to be perfectly honest, I mean, going up against Hamilton, they really look like they weren't up for the challenge at home for Bo Levi Mitchell. I mean, first of all, what has made Hamilton so good offensively early on, and what can and will the Bombers need to do differently in this game than in their earlier matchup if they want to get a different result?
Yeah, just disrupting Bo in any way, shape, or form is obviously the primary concern, because I'm with you. When I did that game on the Thursday night back in week 2, it was sometimes with the veteran quarterbacks especially, it just looks so simple. Like Chad Kelly last night catching snaps and looking at Mackay Polk in the end zone, and he's like, well, it's zone and you guys aren't covering grass, so Mackay Polk is going to run to an empty piece of grass and I'm going to flip it to him. I made the joke on air that he was like, an uncle at the barbecue where he wasn't even doing anything athletic. It was like pitch and catch, easy, simple stuff, right? Bo was like that against Winnipeg back at the first matchup of the year. So the first thing is just getting somewhere into his wheelhouse, trying to force the issue. The second thing I think that Winnipeg has going for them is when you have Willie Jefferson and his ability to track the football in the air and knock it down, you don't necessarily have to get home, or usually you try to disrupt the quarterback's feet. I don't think you even have to get in and around Bo's legs or make him shift or slide around the pocket. I think you just need to make sure that you are, within his throwing lanes and trying to make things difficult in terms of his vision, because that can be as much of a disruptive factor as moving him off his spot or changing where his feet are. So that would be the number one thing to me. But really what it comes down to is you can do whatever you want to the quarterback. The quarterbacks are playing at such a high level. They'll probably escape, get out, find other ways down the field to take shots. The secondary has to make great plays on the football in the modern CFL. They just have to. Like, it's almost shocking when you see a quarterback, pressure's on, slide out of the pocket, maybe slither up into the protection of the bubble, and then you look down the field and you rip it, and then at the last line of defense, a defensive back comes flying across and knocks it away. Every time that's happened in the young CFL season, I have felt like, wow, they dodged a bullet there, because it's so rare. It's been home run after home run after home run. So the pressure to me is on Winnipeg's secondary to make great plays on the football. And of course, the other side of that is, like we were just talking about with the Argonauts against Calgary, for Winnipeg's offense, if Bo is going to rip it up and down the field, you cannot spend the first quarter feeling it out and let's establish Brady ball, and then maybe we'll establish our play action in the second quarter. That's not how 2026 is working so far. It's like, if you get possession early on in the game, you need to drive down the field in 6 to 8 plays and score a touchdown. And if you don't and the other team does, now you're behind, and it's kind of hard to just start going back to your game plan. It changes everything when you have a quarterback that's ripping it up and down the field the way that Bo has.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we spend a lot of time here talking about defensive adjustments and the urgency on defense to try to limit Hamilton to be able to stay in the game. But you're exactly right. I would imagine there's equal amount of urgency within the offensive meeting rooms and Tommy Condell that we need to go out and we need to have the foot on the gas right away and get this right early, because with the slow start like they had against Edmonton last week, that just simply isn't going to cut it against a CFL offense that is running in the top half of the league right now, because the top half of the league is putting up 45 a game.
Yeah, and the thing I find interesting about it too is that some offenses don't have to force the issue. Their offense naturally facilitates the long drive at the start of the game because they don't need. I'm thinking of like Davis Alexander and the Montreal Alouettes when they go flea flicker early on against the Toronto Argonauts with Tyson Philpott. And it's like, well, that is a dialed up shot because they want to set the tone and they want to get an early lead, because if they can get out in front, they feel comfortable managing the game from the front and forcing the other team to chase. There's a lot of teams in the CFL at this point that don't need to go to that desperate, we need to jump out in front, let's dial up this play thing. Calgary was a great example of that last night. It was not anything flashy. It was Vernon throwing a crossing route and then check down and then a screen and then a deep out and then a post and they weren't really calling all of these crazy double move sluggo type things until later in the game. I wonder whether or not, especially with the dynamic of Condell and going back into Hamilton and Zach trying to prove that they are still there and that they can get off to a fast start, if they dial something up early on in this game on the road in Hamilton and it doesn't go well, if it actually puts them into more of a hole. Like I feel like Winnipeg doesn't need to force early on. If Bo gets the football and like he did to the BC Lions before the bye week, he comes out and he's like 8 of 8 for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter or whatever. Winnipeg, I don't think can be like, okay, guys, it's time to like break glass in case of emergency and like call the 3 plays that we know are our big shot plays. It's like, don't do that, because that might turn into that. The risk reward again on that is, yeah, you might get a big gain or 2 or a chunk play or earn a defensive pass interference call. You also might throw an interception because Hamilton knows that you're pressing because you're nervous that you're just going to fall behind and be out of contention. So, yeah, the mentality of Condell and Zach Claros needs to be calculated, but also they need to use their wisdom, because those are 2 very wise guys that understand the flow and rhythm of CFL games.
Well, the perspective is always important, but let me tap your quarterback brain here. You're on the road in a game like this. You get the football and you run the football. You kind of get things settled, set up. You get a bunch of first downs, eat up 6.5 minutes on the clock, and you end up kicking a field goal. And then it goes back to the other guys, and in 3 plays, they're kicking a convert. I mean, what does that do to the mind of the QB and just the offensive outlook, knowing that these guys are going right now. And I know this is what we plan to do, but we might need to up the octane levels a little bit on our aggression.
I remember, you remember that East semifinal when Chad Kelly and the Argonauts were playing at home, I think in 2023 against Ottawa, and Drew Brown was like chipping away, going down the field with like an 18-play drive, and then Chad would touch the ball and it was back in the end zone immediately. It reminds me of that, but also the way that I have always thought of this conversation is when I was a younger man, I was watching, I believe, Matthew Stafford when he was at Georgia, and it was rivalry week against Georgia Tech. And Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech offense used to be like that, triple option, single wing, wishbone stuff. And it was the funniest thing in the world. It's one of my favorite stylistic matchups in college football, where we have obviously more offensive variety in terms of structure and scheme than we do in the CFL. That you could have a team that's running like single wing, wishbone, triple option stuff. They want every single drive to be 18 to 22 plays to wear you out. But then Stafford would touch the football and it was like 80-yard touchdown. Okay, good luck. You guys go do that 22 play thing and we'll see how this turns out. The mentality I know, because I have lived it, being on the other side where somebody is touching the football and scoring immediately, is you have to adopt the concept, and you have to basically convince your teammates and your entire sideline, guys, it doesn't matter if it takes us 2 plays or 200 plays. If we end up in the end zone and we keep pace, we're fine. It's not the sexiest thing because you just want to be able to score easily. Everybody's looking for that ease, right? The simpler path to get to the end zone. But you have to convince, especially if you know your team well enough to understand that, hey, we're not the high-flying Argonauts. We're not necessarily Chad Kelly and going to be able to throw bombs over the top. We don't have Bo Levi Mitchell to Kenny Lawler, even though we do have Zach Collaros to Tim White, which I'd like to see that come to life and be that explosive combination. I believe that Zach is going to have to be the veteran guy who kind of says to everyone going into this game, if they go crazy early on, as long as we're still getting to the end zone, there is no pressure for us to score immediately every single time that we touch it. And when you have a veteran quarterback like Zach, that message gets respected and then kind of disseminated through the remainder of the dress roster. If you have a younger guy that's, just coming in and says, guys, trust me, we're fine, that message doesn't really hit the same. But I think with Zach, it will.
Marsh, before we go, I want to ask you about Saturday's game. Back out in Kelowna, the 3-0 Elks versus the 0-3 BC Lions. And, we were talking about these offenses. Like, Nathan Rourke threw for 467 last week and lost by 8.
Bad week, Hustler. Bad week for him. I mean, just garbage quarterback play.
But, man, we've talked about, there's a real sense, I think, of urgency for the Bombers going into this game, not wanting to fall to 1-3 in this. BC's 0-3. They've lost in the division. I'm not sure how much more you can get out of Nathan Rourke. So how do the BC Lions turn this around against a football team that so far in Edmonton has really showed out well?
Yes, special teams obviously has been dealt with because they have decided to change up their coordinator on that level. The next axe to fall, I think, unfortunately, because I love Mike Benavides, would be the defense. Because if you're getting your quarterback, but again, this across the league, if your quarterback's playing at a crazy high level and you just can't stop anybody, are we about to have 9 defensive coordinators suddenly available on the coaching free agency market? Because at some point it's going to have to be, listen, guys, this is every team in the CFL that's up against this way. So, I think it's hard for me to get a true evaluation on Nathan Rourke right now because, as you say, he's playing great. And the BC Lions, I thought, as long as he was putting up points, they would be secure. I didn't know Justin Rankin was going to be setting all-time marks through the first month of the CFL season. I knew Cody Fajardo was going to study the waters of the Edmonton Elks. I didn't know that he was going to be doing it to this level where he's limiting really any mistakes at this point, right? Because on top of the big yardage that we've talked about and all the points, it's the high touchdown to interception ratio. It's the lack of fumbles lost when you go through every matchup in the early season. It is the percentage of drives that are ending in the score zone, which means that you're getting guaranteed points out of every possession. These are all kind of the early trends that as I've watched it through, I'm thinking this lends itself perfectly to, yes, the big play offenses like VA, Calgary, Bo Levi, Mitchell, Hamilton we've talked about, but also to the Rourkes of the world who have a bunch of available targets, But now when those targets get dinged and their receiver room gets a little bit thin, suddenly they don't feel as explosive as the other teams, and they have to do things a bit of a different way, which I think Buck Pierce is evolving with in real time in front of us, but it doesn't make it any easier when your defense can't stop anybody or anything, which has been the reality for the BC Lions, which were a super young team last year, and I thought they were going to grow into this a little quicker. But Rourke, it feels crazy to say, but like Rourke could once again in this game go for 400 plus yards. And if the Cody Fajardo winning formula is to throw for 250, but to get 150 yards on the ground from Justin Rankin and a couple of timely explosive plays from their ground attack, then Edmonton might control the time of possession and get out of there with another win and be 4-0. And the BC Lions are going to be looking around going, so what is our formula? Like, how do we actually get a victory? If Nathan's going to keep doing amazing Nathan things and we're not winning, that wasn't really what we had in the cards for this season. That's a tough spot to be in for a franchise that's kind of bet everything on their starting quarterback, as they should. Turns out all the other quarterbacks are just going to be playing at Nathan Rourke MOP levels for an entire month, which I don't think the BC anticipated.
Marsh, you're the best. Thanks for doing this. Much respect for the grind of getting out there, coming back and joining us today. Speaking of grind, enjoy the birthday party circuit tomorrow and have a great call on Sunday night for the Bombers and Ticats on TSN.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to dunk on so many kids at the YMCA, man. Just let out all of my weekend stress. I'm going to sit here and do my prep, and as soon as it's done, like, these kids have no idea. I'm going to be referencing old NBA players they've never even heard of before as I like Daryl Dawkins, Chocolate Thunder on top of them at the YMCA. It's going to be amazing.
A human version of NBA Jam coming to a Hamilton YMCA tomorrow. Have a great one, buddy, and a great call on Sunday. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Great stuff with Marsh. He had a grind. He was out in and out of Calgary on the same day and still time to join us. So a shout out to him. 1-0 Egypt up on the Aussies right now, just starting the second half in the World Cup. Don't forget, tomorrow, Canada, noon, against Morocco from Houston, the biggest game in the history of our men's program. We'll hit that in the Cool Bet lines later on. But if you have not already made plans to get to your local BP, I would suggest you holler at your friends and call now and get a reservation. All the Boston pizzas, most of the bars in town, I think, are going to be packed tomorrow. There's nothing like watching a big match like that in a great sports bar, eating some good food, having a couple cold ones with a great crew, all pulling on the same rope. So tomorrow, BP, place to be. Great prizes going on for the Canada Red Wash parties for the World Cup. Also want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their support of WST. Don't forget, Princess Auto Stadium next Friday, Toronto and the Bombers. But if you're looking to kill a little bit of time on the weekend and you haven't been to the new Princess Auto flagship store at 500 Panet Row, you got to get down there and see it. It is truly incredible, bigger, better, more stuff than you've seen before. And they've added a massive hunting section, a camping section, a fishing section, not to mention great food. You can grab a cold one and walk around if you want. All waiting for you. Get on down if you haven't been there yet. The brand new Princess Auto flagship store at 500 Panet Road. Derminator and the gang are going to be ready for some fun at the with the summer. Of course, Chud's Power Sports was closed on Canada Day, but open this weekend. And if you are looking to up your fun level for the next few months with a ATV, a dirt bike, a motorcycle, motorbikes, how about a boat? You need a new outboard motor? We got you covered. Want to go on a trip or become getting into RV life? They've got it all for you. Chud's Power Sports has been Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years with the best and most experienced staff and incredible financing options for both new and used vehicles and more. Pop down and see him at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. And in the meantime, you can shop online at chudspowersports.com. Check out the link for True North Parts at their website for incredible clearance deals on gear and accessories. Shout out to our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli. And I know Dr. Terry's going to be locked in tomorrow at noon for Canada. And Morocco, of course, Dr. Terry and St. Vital Dental Center, great partners of ours here at Winnipeg Sports Talk. They've been serving the community for generations of Manitobans with a full-service dental clinic that can handle clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They do it all. They've got a beautiful new facility too, 167 St. Anne's, convenient free parking right behind the building. So for all your dental needs, get online to stvitaldental.ca, make an appointment, pop in, say hi to Dr. Terry and his great staff, and tell him the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, Friday afternoon, big sports weekend coming up. We've just finished free agency, development camp. What a great time to welcome in Ken Wiebe to the program. Weber, what's going on? How are you?
Good afternoon, Andrew. Doing well, thanks. Always a pleasure to be with you. Vigo Mania running wild this morning. I think it was in the morning. We'll call it the morning at the Hockey for All Center. Interesting week all around in Jets land, and ready for the weekend itself.
Okay, we can talk free agency, the new players, all that. Let's talk about Vigo right off the bat. You've been out there. By all accounts, he really has been the star of the show. You finally get to see him in person. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, the caveat is always that we understand these are summer skates, and summer training is just beginning for some. Some guys have been done, for a long time. Others have just been getting done after playoff runs. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why the hype train is sort of reached levels that we haven't seen here since Patrick Laine was chosen second overall a decade ago. Huss. This is an explosive skater. This is someone who has incredible hockey sense. He's got an ability to pass the puck, which we saw on his dish to Jacob Julian for the opening goal in the scrimmage that was played in front of a packed house. There was his finishing ability on display, converting a pass from Alphonse Frey, his Swedish gold medalist teammate. We had the fire of Vigo Bjork on display, up in arms over the suggestion that the shootout goals would count the same as actual goals. It was quite something to see. The intensity was high. And then you saw the ability to connect after the ice sessions were over. My colleague Mike McIntyre from the Free Press politely and jokingly asked if his hand was sore from signing all the autographs that he signed this week. So again, in the historical time machine sort of data point, we haven't seen this many autographs signed and pictures posed for since one Rutger McGroarty took the Jets fan base by storm way back a few years ago here. So anyways, certainly impressed by how he conducts himself first and foremost. I know there's been lots of debate over where he may be starting next season. But what I've seen here, from Bjork, is someone who understands the spotlight is on him. He doesn't seek it out, but he's also not afraid of it. There's a lot of confidence, but a lot of humility, which is what Kevin Cheveldayoff told us on Friday. I'm impressed by how he conducts himself. Like I said, brief chat after some of the sessions, just the way he interacts with people. And Huss, I mean, this is a guy who, when he's on the ice, he's the kind of player that can captivate his audience and bring people out of their seats. So anyways, as far as first impressions go in the live viewings, certainly count me among those who is impressed. And I've said it before and I've said it again. There's still certain things that need to be sorted out with Vigo in his representation and Djurgårdens, but I will be surprised if he is not starting next season in the National Hockey League, and then it will be up to him to sort of see where it goes from there. But for the debate that was floating around online, Kevin Cheveldayoff put his foot down or fist down and said, Vigo Bjork is a center, period. And Bjork quickly said, well, I'll adapt if I have to, basically. But anyways, incredible first impression. And, this is a guy that, no matter when it happens, this is a guy that a lot of people are going to be impressed by. And like I said, I think they're going to be impressed by him as early as this fall here.
Yeah, and I listen, as someone that has seats, I'll be making sure I'm picking the home opener, because I'm pretty damn sure that that'll be the debut of Igor Bjork as a Winnipeg Jet. It should be fun. And yeah, listen, I mean, a lot of the reason why that question, I think, had to be asked comes out of Drager on Overdrive earlier this week, who said Bjork's not a center, and obviously he's got. We talked about it at the top. I think that was he was just misspeaking, or either that, or he wasn't that dialed in on the player, because very clear that he is a center. They drafted him to be a center, and that was clear.
And the confusion, Huss, I mean, I guess he did play right wing at the World Junior. I understand that. But, I mean, on his club team, he was playing center, and that is his natural position. So, I
played
mean,
at the World Championships against
men. For
that.
sure.
Like,
I mean, Alexander Command was his center at the World Junior, and I think last time we checked, Huss, that worked out pretty well for both the player and the country. But yeah, this is a guy who was drafted to be a center, and he has the pathway and the road for him to become the 2C, Huss. It's never been clearer, right? So we'll see how everything plays out.
It's just how soon that happens, and who
exactly
else would be in the mix. Hey, listen, I got to mention the segment's brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers in the Toyota Tacoma. With a standard I-Force engine boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. The available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain. When it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Now you can lease a 26 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR for 60 months with $70.99 down. All right, Ken, I've got some breaking news for you.
Oh, goodness.
Elliot Friedman, who had mentioned he had a thought of an offer sheet but was too chicken to say it. Get this, Ken. This is 5 minutes ago from the Philadelphia Flyers. We have tendered an offer sheet to Anaheim center Leo Carlsson.
Ooh,
the
5
offer
times 18.
is a 5-year contract worth an AAV of $18 million, which would require 4 of the Flyers' first-round draft picks in each of the next 4 seasons as compensation. We'll get back to the Jets in a minute, but wow, it finally happened. A massive, massive offer sheet to one of the top young stars in the game. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, thoughts are the Philadelphia Flyers certainly made a few headlines with offer sheets with a certain player that folks in Winnipeg are familiar with way back in the day. But this is a little bit of a different level and different type of center, if you will, Huss. I've got lots of time for Leo Carlsson. I think he's one of the up and coming stars. Speaking of Swedish talents, but. Yeah, I mean, hey, it just goes to show we've been talking, for months and years about center depth and the importance of having centermen. And again, the expectation will be that Anaheim matches because, you're probably not getting a top 3 pick in any of those 4 years. So, but it's definitely something that is going to, I'm not going to say it's going to put Pat Verbeek in a bind, but let's just put it this way, Huss. If Anaheim was super comfortable in offering that money, don't you think the deal would have been done already and you wouldn't be taking an offer sheet, right? So, and again, we've been talking about player empowerment, Huss, for the last couple weeks and months as well. I mean, for Leo Carlsson, I mean, if we're going to do the math here. If you take a 5-year deal, you're becoming a UFA at the end of that deal, right? You're not signing an 8-year deal with Anaheim now, right? So it's similar to a Sebastian Aho situation where it sped up the process to potentially, Aho extended, we get that, but it sort of gets you to UFA status as quickly as possible. So again, my expectation would be that the Ducks match. I mean, Carlsson is their number 1 center, but this is also part of the new reality. We saw what Kaprizov signed for, and now, you're going to have somebody just coming out of an ELC that is going to be making $18 million, whether it's with the Ducks or the Flyers. So I appreciate the boldness of Daniel Briere in this scenario here. And again, we always talk about player movement and excitement for the fan bases and everything else. I mean, do we see one for Jason Robertson or another player coming up? I mean, his situation is also a little bit different, obviously, knowing that Robertson's only 1 year away from being a pending UFA. But yeah, I think it'll be a fascinating scenario here coming up this summer. But yeah, I mean, you can get my reaction to Kent Hughes out here, Huss. I mean, this is an eyebrow raiser in a good way. I mean, this is
literally what I thought the minute Remis put this thing in on the thing while you were here. I'm like, oh my god, we might top that GIF in WSD history. Like, I'm looking at Anaheim right now and their list, and obviously they have Leo Carlsson as an RFA.
Well, and Cutter too, Cutter Gauthier.
Cutter Gauthier as well. Something tells me that Philly won't be offer sheeting him.
Although, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't be signing it, Huss, obviously, but
it doesn't.
What a turn of events! What a turn of this has got some real WWE villainy behind it here, doesn't it?
The Flyers seem to be back a little bit, but if you were wondering why the Anaheim Ducks sat back and allowed Trouba to sign with the Ducks and watched John Carlson walk away, although it didn't seem like he wanted to stay on the West Coast, and even Gudas, they had to sit tight and make sure that they were covered in the case of this. And as I said, I'm sure now, knowing what we know today, if you go back and read Elliott's column that he said, I'm too chicken to say what I want to, obviously he had an inkling that this sort of a thing. I think a lot of people put the 2 and 2 together and was thinking Connor Bedard.
Well, I mean, that might have changed after what we saw floating around from the Live Barn feed there with him hurting his shoulder. It was last night, I think, right? Or yesterday morning. Kind of got posted last night.
If it was 18 million and you were getting one of the two guys, I'm taking Leo Carlsson. I like Bedard a lot. I think Carlsson is going to be a top 10 player in the league for a long, long time. But wow, out of an ELC, 18 million a year, 90 sheets. And I mean, Anaheim had said outwardly, we will match any offer. Very similar to what the Jets did, to your point, back in the Tkachuk era, and they immediately did. It put them in a bit of a jam, but they had their guy. But to be a fly on the wall of Pat Verbeek's office right now, can you imagine?
Well, you might not want to be the cleaning crew for getting ready for the weekend. But Huss, let's just quickly, for context purposes, Anaheim, 19 of 23 players signed. They as of right now, they have 35 million and change in projected cap space. But you're immediately taking half of that money if you match for Carlson, and you know that Gauthier is probably north of 10 mil, don't you think? So,
well, if it's a long-term deal, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a.
And I guess neither of those guys probably have arbitration, do they?
No, they won't have arbitration rates yet. No, but I mean, still, that's a couple big tickets
and
to.
Cutter's he's offer sheet ineligible as well. Which I'm not sure, maybe because he had been traded. I'm not really sure why that is the case. I don't know the CBA well enough, but
that's big. That's big. That's not a Friday news dump, Huss. Let's put it that way. That's not a.
And then you get to the point where, I mean, Cutter's kind of been pretty clear about pushing his way to what he wants. I would suggest that if he sees Leo get the 18, he can't sign an offer sheet. He's not in a great situation. But listen, the guy had a great season, scored 41. So they're going to need to figure. They're going to need to figure something out. Well, things got real interesting.
Wow!
Today in the National Hockey League with that. I mean, listen, we'll I'm sure be talking about the follow to this. Remis, keep an eye on. Let us know if the Ducks have immediately matched or whether they're going to let Philly twist.
Well, this is not quite Barrett Hayton territory.
No. No. This is far from it. Ken, we did speak about all the young guys out at camp. Well, I mean, listen, we talked about Vigo right off the bat. Just before we get to the free agency ads and Hellebuck and moving on, recapping development camp. Any thoughts? I mean, the guys I'm most interested in. Where is Kevin He at? Sasha Boumedienne, Kieran Walton, Zach Waring. I mean, we don't need to go through everyone, but from what you saw, who was outside of Bjork, anyone really standing out, or where are we at here?
Yeah, I mean, Naring had a great showing in the game today. Huss 2 goals, one pretty one in the shootout. Really nice goal in the scrimmage itself. Big, strong guy, kind of new age power forward. Not crazy physical, but big, strong guy. He told us after in the media session that he's gained 12 pounds of muscle already in the off season since his NCAA sophomore season ended. Interestingly enough, Kevin Cheveldayoff brought him up during that session today with reporters and mentioned him as being a guy that's a candidate to maybe, if he has a great year at Western Michigan, he could turn pro at the end of next year, maybe join the Moose at the end of the year. Zach wasn't quite ready to commit fully to that yet, but I think it's something that's on his mind. He's got that kind of frame that the Jets don't have an abundance of in the organization. Kevin He flying around out there. Hussey scored a pretty goal also during the scrimmage. I mean, he's a guy we expect to be with the Manitoba Moose, but he's impressed in his previous 2 training camps. Kieran Walton's also added some muscle to the frame. Huss, I like the way he's moving around. Jacob Julian, as I mentioned earlier, he took the pass from Bjork and had a really pretty goal. He's the kind of guy that's super interesting to me, Huss, too, because he's 6'5" and is become a little bit of an agitator. So he's going to need to do that. He had lost a lot of time due to injury last year, but he's going to be a guy that you're going to be watching with the Manitoba Moose and looking at his development. Boumedienne is just absolutely, he floats on skates, Huss. I mean, he's just such an explosive defenseman, offensive creativity. He's moving from Boston University to Ohio State in the fall here, going to have a huge role with them. I really like, Alphonse Frey looked really good in the session today. We know he didn't get he did get a taste with the Moose, but didn't really get any playoff minutes there. But he was moving around well on the back end. Edison Engel is a guy who we obviously have been keeping tabs on. He's going to be going to Western Michigan as well with playing with Zach Naring this year after having a really good year in the OHL. Braden Yager obviously looked good out there today. Colby Barlow, some pretty moves as well. But yeah, it's an interesting time. And again, Huss, you've been talking about him for about 2 months now. Adam Vigfusson scores the shootout winner today. So capping what had already been a pretty good several months, Nighthawks win the MJHL, win the Centennial Cup, MVP of the Centennial Cup, getting a Scully to St. Cloud State, and getting an invite by the home province team. And by the way, in a 8-8 tie in the shootout, he got the tap on the shoulder and delivered the clincher. So again, small
player. I'm
small
really
victories
here.
here.
To see, I think that. Just quickly on Adam Vigfusson, he had a monster season as the captain of this powerhouse team out in Seville. They accomplished all of their goals and then some, winning the national championship. He was scheduled to go to York. And, I'm not sure what the scouting level is of players in and around the MJ, but you get to a level under that sort of a spotlight and some other doors open. And I got to tell you, I think that he's going to go in and be a really good NCAA player. And, who knows? Listen, maybe it's not the NHL level, but I would imagine that there'll be some professional opportunities going forward for him. We see undrafted guys all the time, develop later or get their chance later and do it. But anyways, I was pumped, and it was great on the Jets to extend that invite. And how about him making the most of it?
Making it count, yep.
Hey, listen, let's get to Stuart Skinner and Ferraro. I'll be honest, Ken, I still am surprised that they were able to get those deals done where they are. Now, I know the cap is going up, and if you told me that the Skinner deal was an extra $1 million or even the Ferraro ones, I would not have blinked. Not only did they seem to get the guys they wanted, but they didn't have to go into insane July 1 numbers like we've seen in the past when the Jets have sort of been chasing free agents and often been sort of down the list and get guys that had whiffed elsewhere and had to pay more for them. It sounds like both these guys were pretty much in on the opportunity in Winnipeg right from the get-go. And I can't say enough about those two deals. I think they fit a good spot, and we don't see any of the signings that we saw last year that just sort of clogged up, committed them to players that didn't get it done.
Yeah, quickly, it's probably the most productive, arguably the most productive July 1st the Jets have had in 15 off seasons. I think the only comparable would be I think they signed Kulikov, Dmitry Kulikov, and Steve Mason in the same year. Could that be right? I think if I'm doing the math, I think that's the same.
Could be.
Off season
with a massive overpay. They had to give him a ton of money at that time, and.
Mason was brought in as an augmenter, but again, the expectation was that he was going to be starting, and Hellebuyck took care of that by the first weekend of the season. But anyways, you're getting a guy who has averaged over 21 minutes per game, and Mario Ferraro did a lot of research on this. Us talked to a lot of people who know him from the market. Not only is he a solid defenseman with incredible competitive nature, great person, very accountable. This guy who's played 7 seasons in the NHL, never made the playoffs. So there's a hunger to be on a team that he believes has a chance to be back in the playoffs. He spoke openly about, Macklin Celebrini and how much of a star he is already and being around him. But yeah, this is a guy who, right away slots in on your third pairing, but can easily provide second pairing minutes if you need him to do that. He is a guy who's going to help the penalty kill immediately. Not a big point producer, but a mobile guy, plays a, very stiff type of game. We talk about the Jets trying to get harder to play against. Well, that guy is a guy that's going to make the Jets harder to play against. We know there have been some depth pieces as well. Organizational depth, whether it's Noah Gregor, who, he's competing for a 12th or 13th forward spot. If not, he's playing for the Moose. Henry Thrun just won a Calder Cup on the back end. He's in that, that mix with Hayden Fleury, Jack St. Ivany, for spots. But again, I think those are massive deals. And again, with Stuart Skinner, no one's asking him to be Connor Hellebuyck. But let's also not forget part of the, everyone's thinking about the part of the resume where, lost the job in the playoffs. Well, he's got 56 playoff starts, and
pretty sure he did something that Connor Hellebuyck hasn't been able to do, and that's outduel Jake Ottinger in 7-game series in back-to-back years. Oh, and made it to the Stanley Cup, which I think is worth something.
Well, Hassan, the other part of that too, and I was talking with his former tandem mate with the Oilers, Calvin Pickard, the Winnipegger, this week after the deal was done, and Calvin kind enough to call in from the lake to share some thoughts. And as Calvin reminded me, that first year, the Oilers were down 3-0, and Skinner was one of the big reasons they got to a Game 7. And for those who have forgotten, Alexander Barkov threw a security blanket around 97, but it was a 2-1 game. He went head-to-head with Bob and lost a 1-goal game. So, again, I get it. We know it's not a perfect signing. This is not right now, Stuart Skinner is not a future Hall of Famer like the guy he might be eventually replacing. But Stuart Skinner is a guy who's got a lot accomplished in a short amount of time. This guy's been in the NHL for 4 years and has 56 playoff starts on his resume, including, I think, 13 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I love the accountability that we saw from Skinner in that first Zoom call. This is a guy who is genuinely enthusiastic about his situation. I think the fact that he's training in Calgary with the likes of Mark Scheifele and with the likes of Josh Morrissey is going to be a massive boost for him. He's got some great experience. Talked about being around Connor McDavid, talked about being around Sidney Crosby, who he called the greatest leader the game has ever seen. And this is a guy, let's make no mistake. Stuart Skinner knows the flaws that have been in his game. He wants to be he thinks the best hockey of his is ahead of him, and there's plenty of reason to believe that. So anyways, I think that these are two both, they're not the or not the highest profile signings, or they're not for the biggest amount of money. But Stuart Skinner on a 2-year deal at that money, at that 3.75, depending on how things shake down, Stuart Skinner has 2 years to show the Jets that he can maybe potentially be their future starter. And then, he's going to probably want to reward the organization that gave him that chance to do that. And in terms of Ferraro, again, this is a smart addition, and it's on a 3-year deal at a reasonable number. Like, usually we see money flying around on July 1. And don't get me wrong, $4 million is a significant amount, but it's not like they had to, have this massive overpay, like you mentioned. And this is a guy who can be a real big culture piece. He was an alternate captain, I think, for 4 seasons out of the 7 in San Jose. Very well liked by his teammates, and he can play. I mean, this is a guy that's going to help the Jets in a lot of areas. So again, there's still some work to be done, obviously, but that's a big July 1st for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of what you're spending term and dollar amounts at a time when we call it the silly season. So we're just talking about a guy getting 18 sheets here. So it's going to be an interesting time ahead, but yeah, some tidy work from the Jets general manager here, but again, more work to be done.
What do we know about that Thrun guy that came in, the defenseman? I know he's with the Marlies. And I guess just thoughts on right now, based on where things are at with the defensemen they've signed, with the guys that were in Manitoba last year, who would be we kind of know that with Elias Salomonsson healthy, we know what the top 6 is as it stands right now. Who's next man up on that depth chart?
Yeah, to me, like 7-8 is Saint Ivany and Fleury if they carry 8. After that, Isaac Phillips had a real strong playoff at the Moose that we saw. Huss, he's there on the left side also.
You think Saint Ivany's in the mix?
To be the 7. I mean, again, he's a right-handed shot, Huss. I mean, to me, he's on the third pairing to start the year, unless you're playing Fleury on the offside, with assuming that Salomonsson is not ready for.
You think Saint Ivany's head of Bauer?
I do, yeah. I mean, he's got 53 NHL games. He's had some injuries, yes, but a little bit more mobile. Huss, obviously, maybe not quite as physical.
Didn't sound very mobile with what I heard. Sort of a Luke Shen light, if that's a fair.
Okay, well that wasn't the scouting report that I was getting, Huss. Again,
I guess with all that, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot. We haven't seen these guys. We're going to see them. It comes training camp, and
he's got 53 more NHL games than Bauer. I mean, no offense to Bauer, who has been a very very important piece in the organization. And again, if Tyrell comes to camp and outplays him, then he'll get his chance.
I do wonder. The one thing that I was hoping that this team would do is add a little bit more toughness and a bit of bite. And that's the one thing where you can probably get that later.
Ferraro brings some bite. I mean, not the same scrappiness, but maybe not fighting. But he's a physical guy.
Yeah. How big is he?
He's 6'3", I think. Isn't he?
Ferraro?
Or maybe he's... hang on. Ferraro... No, sorry, 6 feet, but 200 pounds. Sorry, bud.
Yeah,
Saint Ivany is 6'3", I guess. But,
yeah, Saint Ivany's a bigger body. Don't know whether he can throw him. But hey, just before we go, listen, we're all the excitement about these young players.
Yeah,
they didn't go and add a bunch of those other kind of older players. Maybe they kind of have those guys already on the roster in Nemetsnikov and Niederreiter. But do you expect that those guys come to camp as normal, and do you expect them in the lineup when the puck drops in game number 1, in particular Nino and Vlad?
Yeah, I mean, nobody would have been more disappointed in their seasons than those two players, respectively, Huss. So, I mean, if they're at camp, they're going to want to be battling for jobs. And I mean, yes, we know both those guys went through long droughts this year, and a lot of frustration, no doubt. But there's, Nemestikov also had a long history of being a really productive player, and Niederreiter for the longest time was an automatic 20-goal guy. So see how he responds to his knee being better. And yeah, I mean, as of right now, they're gonna have to get knocked out by guys out of the lineup, right? So again, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like or the construction of those lines, but whether if you're Brad Lambert and Isaac Roseanne and then Parker Ford and some of those other guys, you're going to have to win the job if you want to knock some of these veterans out of the lineup. And I would expect those guys to have bounce back years. I mean, it's still a long off season here, Huss. I would think some other things could still happen, but yeah, I mean, if those guys they also, yes, they were healthy scratched, I believe, last year, both of them, but again, they also had a pretty good history prior to last year's downturn of being productive players. So
I guess the reason why I ask is that, I mean, like last year, especially with more years on the contract, it's very difficult to sort of say, okay, you know what, we've got a better option, we're moving on. And I mean, listen, there's stubbornness, I think, on Nyquist and a bunch of guys is part of the reason why last season ended the way that it did or went the way that it did. But you bring up those players, like at some point, if they're making a difficult decision between a Parker Ford, a Brad Lambert, a Isaac Rosine, and two guys well on the other side of 30 with expiring contracts. Do you think that is the situation different this year, that it just kind of traditionally it's always gone to the vet? They've always been ready to go. Like, do you think of what happened last year and what we've seen and knowing where this team wants to go, particularly with what Chevy said about speed, that there might be, shall we say, a more open competition for spots?
Yeah, I mean, just the thing with Vlad too, Huss. I mean, he's one season removed from being the team's second line center, so I don't think they'll be quick to discard him. And he also fits as being a good skater and hard to play against. Obviously, the mobility was an issue for Niederreiter last year. Yeah, I mean, Nito was going to have to bring a better version, and same with Vlad, Huss. No matter how that shakes down, I just don't think it's automatic that they're going to be on the discard pile.
I'm not saying discard pile, but I'm saying
if they get outplayed, yes, absolutely, they're going to be in danger.
Because I think in the
sure.
past you could outplay a guy and it didn't matter. Like, here's the roster. We know the way this team is going to look at the opener. Glad you guys had a great camp. That was really good what you did in the exhibition game. Go work hard with the Moose. And I think a lot of people, myself included, would love to see, like, put it this way, if those guys are going to be in the lineup this year, and yeah, we know what they're paying them, like, they have to go in and win those jobs. And I don't think that's been in the case. And that is the one thing. Like, even if you don't add any more players this year, legitimate competition and having young guys go and feel that they maybe can earn a spot, I feel is really important for this team at this point, more so than it's been in the past.
Well, hey, I mean, Kevin Cheveldayoff's not bringing up Braden Yager, as a potential candidate for a job if they're not going to, be available to fight for those jobs, Huss. So, yeah, I know
where you're down to Yager or Vlad in the lineup. Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, but the other part, again, then I'm not trying to temper expectations or anything, but the reality is Braden Yager's probably smart enough to be in the NHL right out of the gate, but are you better served long-term if Yager is playing 20 to 22 minutes a night in the American Hockey League level, getting puck touches on the top power play, on the top line, or is he playing again, if he's going to be the second line center, okay, if he beats out Bjork, sure. But again, it's interesting. I mean, Bjork, the dynamic has sort of shifted a little bit, having Bjork being in the mix here, Huss. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Nemestikov versus Yager potentially, I mean, are you better off going with, like I said, more minutes for Yager in the minors at the beginning, at least, and sort of keeping his confidence level and puck touches up there? But again, these guys will sort it out, and it's a little bit more wide open than it has been in the past for sure.
All right. Well, I'm sure we've got some X posts to read and whatnot after this crazy news. If you just popped in late, Leo Carlson has been offer sheeted $18 million a year times 5 by the Philadelphia Flyers. That is the big news outside of Winnipeg. And otherwise, it was all about Vigomania and the young players. And, of course, Stu Skinner and Mario Ferraro joining the organization this week. What do you and Mike have coming up? I mean, you guys have been spending a lot of time around the rink. I'm sure the Freep is going to have some of your thoughts coming up. What do we have to look forward to for Jet fans that can't get enough of the development camp and all the news around the team?
You bet. Mike is tackling the Cheveldayoff availability today, and I'm going to sort of tie a bow around the prospects camp. Vigomania will probably be featured prominently, but just sort of talking about Naring and some of the other prospects who are changing leagues or situations, and we'll kind of go from there and continue to monitor all the other stuff as we move along here. And Huss, amidst all the great news, we had some sad news this week. My neighbor and Golf Manitoba Hall of Famer Gavin Spears passed away this week, Huss. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very sudden. Anyway, so tough news for the family, and Gavin impacted a lot of lives. He was a hockey player at the University of Manitoba Bisons, Golf Hall of Famer, and just all around genuinely incredible human being. So the community is thinking of the Spears family here this week as we get ready for the weekend here.
Oh man, that's really sad news. Thoughts to Adam and the entire family. The passing. Kenny, you have a good one, pal. Thanks again for doing this.
You bet, Huss. Take care, my friend. Cheers.
All right. Mention tomorrow, get your rezos for BP because it's time for Canada's big moment at the World Cup. If you have not yet gotten your red Canada jersey or a black one or a white one, or your Canada gear, get on down to Royal Sports, your World Cup headquarters, ASAP, and get ready for the big one tomorrow. What a run it's been. And man, Royal's been so busy for Team Canada fans, but also fans of many of the other nations around the World Cup. They've got it all. If you're looking for one of the official World Cup balls, Royal stocked them in. All of your World Cup merch is waiting for you, including official Team Canada merchandise at Royal Sports. While you're there, check out the softball, baseball, tennis, running, so many bikes, including some really cool e-bikes. One stop, you'll get it all at Royal Sports, your World Cup headquarters for Winnipeg. 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to give them a follow on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Fish hitting the road, but you can start making plans for next weekend. Get a little weekend action for the Fish. It's boy band night and fireworks coming up next Friday, a week today, against Gary. Saturday night, happy hour night, July 11th at 6 p.m. And Sunday, 1 o'clock, the Sunday Family Fun Day. Goldeyes.com for all of your tickets. Get them on your phone. Get down there. Man, we had a great time. Thanks again to everyone that joined us for our WST patio party heading into Canada today. All right, let's. I do want to thank our friends at Travel Manitoba. Of course, right now is a time where a lot of people are going on holidays. If you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. And if you prefer a personal touch, get down to the Forks and stop by the Visitor Information Center. Assiniboia Downs back at it on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, coming off a great couple days, and then the following week, I should say, Monday special. We will have Monday racing on July 13th. That's the Wiener Dog racing night. Great concession deals as well on Mondays at Assiniboia Downs. And Tuesday and Wednesday throughout the summer into fall around Thanksgiving, live racing out at Assiniboia Downs. Check out assiniboiadowns.com for more information on all of your options for live racing nights. Let's welcome in our pal Ben Kramer. We'll take a look at these games on the weekend. But Ben, great to have you back. We joked last week about the poor sports books getting murdered on overs this year. Yeah. We thought, when are we going to get a 60? Well, we got it yesterday. It was 61.5. And 94 points were scored. I was talking to Marshall Ferguson about this earlier, but interested in your thoughts on just the insanity of offense we have right now in the Canadian Football League, and how much does this have to do, in your mind, with the new rules?
In part, it's the new rules, right? Like, overall, we're seeing about 7 more offensive plays per game, somewhere between 7 and 9 on any given week. And, that's going to be, 1 extra possession, right, overall? So that shouldn't account for that much extra scoring overall. The biggest one that I saw going into this season is just the fact that 8 out of 9 teams have the same quarterback as they did a year ago. That never happens in the CFL. There's so much turnover year to year, generally speaking. And this year, as I was writing up the season previews, like I said, 8 out of 9 teams still have the same quarterback. And the vast majority of their weapons at receiver and running back were pretty much the same. There wasn't a lot of star movement on offense this offseason. And so you're seeing some of these offenses that have had a couple years to congeal in many ways, and they're showing a lot of that early on, whereas the defenses they're not even showing up, right? It's not even defense optional. It's defense optional to even attend. They're not even bringing a +1. They're not even showing up at all together, right? So, yeah, last night was really something to see. Like, Vernon Adams projected for, I think, 275 passing yards in my model, and he had that by halftime. That's just nothing that you can mathematically account for. It was an absolute wild scene. So, I think that we'll probably get at least one or two more of those games this weekend, but I do have at least one under that I'm playing this weekend too. So I'm going against the grain a little bit.
You know, it's funny. I mean, I'm just thinking like the CFL should have like a crisis line for defensive coordinators right now. I mean, or some sort of group counseling, because I mean, it's everywhere in the league. And you know, these teams, like I think about what's happening in BC right now. I mean, this team's 0-3. They've got a huge game against Edmonton, who started off 3-0. We're like, wow, can Nathan Rourke lead them to victory? He passed for 467 last week.
What more do you want from your MOP quarterback? They can't do more than this, right? That's the funny thing about football is it's a team sport, right? It doesn't matter if you have the MOP if he's only got 5 other teammates who are worth putting a jersey on at this point. So, yeah, it's a real tough scene out there for these offenses, because even like Chad Kelly got yanked last night at 300 yards. Toronto passed for 400 yards last night altogether as a team, and they got absolutely boat raced as the boatmen, right? There was no contest in that game. I can't think of another time that you would be able to consistently get 400 passing yards and not even be a contestant in the game. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if something changes as the year goes on, or if this is just going to be a record-setting pace, because as of right now, there's no trends that are saying this is going to slow down overall. Like I said, I think this game tonight between Ottawa and Saskatchewan shows some signs that we might get a little bit more of a defensive battle on our hands, just from some of the injuries that we have going on and the team totals they've shown over the years. Since Corey Mace arrived in Saskatchewan, they've only played one game that's gone over 50. So versus Ottawa. So it's going to be interesting to see if that changes tonight, if the rules and the consistency of these offenses hold them above the numbers that they've shown in the past. Because so far going into this would be the kind of game that we'd look at that would wind up kind of a 21-18 final that we would have expected from previous seasons. And if this one goes over at 57.5, like, that's ring the alarm bells. This place is on fire, right? There's absolutely no chance that this thing is slowing down at that point.
You know, I was talking to Marsh earlier in the program, and we were talking about these games, and like, some of these games are reminding me of that Mahomes Mayfield game when they were back at Oklahoma and Texas Tech, where the game was, I think, 66-59, and Mahomes threw 8 TDs and Baker threw 6 or 7. I mean, it's wild. Well, I mean, looking at this game tonight, we got Sask and Ottawa. Coolbet's got Saskatchewan as a 5-point favorite. We mentioned that total of 57.5. I have a feeling this is the game you tease that you're kind of thinking on the under. Yeah. Listen, I'm still shook at that disgusting backdoor cover by the Red Blacks last week.
That hurt, man. That hurt.
It does feel like this is, I mean, 2 teams on different levels right now in the Canadian Football League, and I'm not hesitating to get to the window for Sask.
Yeah, like, the funny thing is they opened up as 3.5-point favorites. They're now up to 5. I didn't feel great even at 3.5. Like, I think they're going to win. Sask money line, I think, is a pretty safe play. But even at 3.5, these teams have tended to play fairly close. Saskatchewan is down at least a couple wide receivers, and they've got 2 guys that are basically playing on one leg in Schaefer Baker and Emelis. So, like, they're not going to be quite the high-flying offense that they have been through the first couple of weeks of the season. Ottawa seemed to start to figure some things out in the second half, but I don't know how much was that actually getting things figured out versus Montreal just thinking they had it in the bag and sitting back in shell for the rest of the second half, right? So, yeah, I think that there's certainly a chance that we could see some scoring, but I think Saskatchewan wins. I have very little doubt, but the 57.5, yeah, I've got the under tonight. And you know what? If that makes me crazy, then that's fair enough. I'll hear about it on Twitter. That's my job, right? But I think this is probably the one this weekend that the books have likely got about right. Because like I said, there's only been one game in the Mace era versus Ottawa where they've actually hit that 57 number, and the rest have all been in the mid-40s. So BC, I think that there's... What's that?
I was just going to say, BC seems to be in these games every week because Nathan Rourke is incredible, and their defense can't stop anyone, but... I mean, we can talk fantasy and betting.
I think the reality is at this point, whose defense is stopping anybody right now?
Well, that's a great point. And you know what?
Yeah, I think Edmonton is, you said it right there. I think Edmonton's the only one that's shown any capacity to this point to be a stopper on defense, because everybody else, they're just getting lit up left and right, not even just on the pass, but the run, and nobody's got a stopper right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Edmonton keeps walking, right?
Well, I mean, listen, this is a huge game for BC. I mean, like, they lose, they go to 0-4. They've just had these 2 games at home. All losses in the division.
Home, right?
Yeah, well, home.
Yeah, that's a tough scene, too.
Better than the Argos, who just, we'll just play on the road. Edmonton, interestingly enough, actually opened in some places as an underdog.
Yeah.
They're now a slight favorite in this game, but it's 1.5. I mean, it's very close to
It's a pick 'em, right?
Yeah. I mean, is this one going to be another points fest? I mean, do we feel comfortable with taking the over on this one? And can you make a case that BC can win this game, considering the way their defense is playing?
Yeah. I think the tough thing for BC is they're a team whose offense is built to play in a dome. Right? They're built for the speed track. They're built to not deal with the elements. And it looks like the elements should be a big deal for this game. It's looking like 27 sunny and low winds like 10K. So it shouldn't make a big deal. But grass fields slow everyone down just a half step. It's going to be something that makes it a little bit tougher on their offense to excel. And yeah, I think probably Edmonton walks away with another win here. BC is left in turmoil saying, what do we do? But you know what? What do you do? You're going to score another 30, 35 points, I think. It's going to be another over because you're not going to be able to stop this offense. And it's going to be a matter of seeing at what point does it slow down for them, and they're able to start playing against some other defenses that are equally as bad as theirs, and they can just outrun the offenses in a 45-40 type of win. So, yeah, it's shaping up to be a really interesting season, that's for sure, through 5 weeks here.
Sunday night, Bombers get another crack at the Ticats, and honestly, I wish this game was later on in the season from a Bomber standpoint because, I mean, Bo Levi Mitchell seemed to have all day, and when they played in week 2, and didn't seem to have any issue completing just about anything and going up and down the field. I mean, the Bomber offense has looked okay at times. They've also had some real lulls, which is part of the reason why. I believe they've got the least points scored in the Canadian Football League right now. Are the Ticats a safe bet this week in your mind? And do you think we will get big-time offense from both teams?
Well, I think we'll get big-time offense from at least one team. It's going to be a matter of whether you get enough from the Bombers to be able to keep up, I think, because I don't think you're going to be able to slow them down easily enough. As I was looking through the trends on this game, it's actually really tight. I think Hamilton is up 5-4 through the last 9 games, but versus the spread, it's basically dead even as well, 5-4. So there's no real clear go-ahead in this series over the last couple of seasons. Hamilton certainly looked like the better team in their first matchup. But we'll have to see what Winnipeg is able to cobble together. They've got their own injuries at wide receiver this week. And if Dembski or Wilson happen to miss the game, well, they're really going to be fighting from behind. I like Dorian Singer a lot. If he happens to get his first start for Winnipeg, I think he can fly and give them some of the downfield threat that they'll need. But I have sincere doubts whether they're going to be able to keep up with Hamilton's offense. Hamilton actually, for all that they've been getting the press, they actually haven't been that overwhelming. It's just been a matter of they've been exceptionally efficient. They have made long plays that have turned into touchdowns on a consistent basis, despite the fact they're not actually putting up a lot of yards in the process. It's just they're getting the short fields, they're making the plays when they need them, and they're putting up the points. So I think if Winnipeg can get the ball and they can take the air out of it a little bit with a run game, they can cover over the fact that their receivers are hurt, then they can still have an angle to play out in Hamilton and hopefully keep it under control. But they're certainly going to have to mitigate the big plays that they gave up in their first match a couple of weeks up ago.
Ben, it's going to be, I mean, it was a wild start. I don't know how you follow that last night, but they'll get it going tonight in the nation's capital, Edmonton, BC tomorrow, and then Bombers and Ticats with the Sunday nighter to finish up week 5 in the Canadian Football League. Give Ben a follow on X at Ben Yamen. And Ben, fill people in if they want to tap into the big brain for all of the content, where you're cranking it out and what can people find there.
Yeah, you can find me on my Substack at onsidefantasy.substack.com, where we've got everything that you need for CFL fantasy football and CFL player props betting with projections for every player in every game throughout the entire season. We're run really well so far. We're going to have to keep up the good work. But yeah, subscribers have made more than their share so far, to the extent that some of the books are starting to catch up to them, and they're going to need about a third or fourth identity by the time it's done.
Take the over, everybody. That's the rule of the day in the Canadian Football League, although maybe not tonight. We will see. Ben, thanks so much for doing this, buddy.
Yeah, great and talking to you, Huss.
Great stuff. There's Ben Kramer at Benyamin on X. You can find out the links and all of that stuff there. Wow, just seeing that Chris Johnson has just posted, he of The Athletic, there are rumblings this may not be the only offer sheet of the day in the National Hockey League. I mean, I don't know if it's possible to get a bigger one than this. I guess Bedard would be right there. Personally, as I said to Ken, I think the Flyers made the right choice if they were targeting one of those two young players. But we'll stay tuned for all of that. We got a quick Chuds Power Poll coming up. We'll hit the cool bet lines, and we will get to marbles. Obviously, it's open. I see you all putting in exclamation mark marbles. Want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake for their great support of WST. Man, been looking at their social feed on Instagram right now. Another Century Club and a Master Angler walleye from a lady yesterday. The fishing's good, but the hospitality's even better. It is truly world-class at Aikens Lake. You can be on the water in less than 2 hours, including a short flight, starting off in the city of Winnipeg before you get out to Lac de Bonnet and then head up. Check out AikensLake.com for all about Aikens Lake and the Aikens experience and availability for the remaining part of 26 and booking well into 2027 at AikensLake.com. Good luck to everyone out of Breezy tomorrow who will be competing in the PGA Scramble Qualifier. What an event that is. Everyone looking to win their qualifier and get into the finals, and the winning team of the finals gets to go to Cabot Links and Cabot Cliffs for the national championship. Of course, our friends at CoolBet have a second chance promo, which you should be opted into if you're playing at CoolBet to give yourself a chance to win that, to bring 3 of your buddies who will be permanently indebted to you to bring them out. But of course, if you're looking for a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out Breezy Bend at breezybend.ca for more information on that. Speaking of Breezy, though, we will do just a quick PGA leaderboard update. John Deere Classic, Lucas Glover, 13 under par. Jackson Suber and Lee Hodges at 10. Tyler Duncan at 9. Going down the list, I do see Chris Gotterup at 8. Not seeing a lot of Canadian flags, though. Need to go all the way down to AJ Ewert is 5 under par. He's just getting going with his round. Mac Hughes at 4. So we'll see Svenny and Sudarshan probably on the wrong side of the cut. Sudarshan's been making a ton of cuts this year, so that's a little disappointing for him to be at -2. But we'll see what happens this week. Not one of the bigger tournaments on tour right now. All right, we're going to get to our Chuds Power Sports Power Poll, cool bet lines, marbles. First up, though, it's Friday. Let's crack a cold one and give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, well, it's been a wild week. First week of free agency. I know the Derminator and the gang at Chuds are ready for marbles, but we got to get into a Chuds Power Sports Power Poll, brought to you by Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. Chuds Power Sports, up at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. Check them out online with everything that they've got waiting for you. online at chudspowersports.com. Remo, I'm going to turn this one to you. You have put the power poll together today, and I imagine the topic is all the moves around the league.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early, Huss, to declare off-season champion and raise the banner right now. We're still waiting on some trades like Hellebuck, offer sheets. We just have the Leo Carlson one for $18 million. Everyone coming in talking about hey, did you hear about this offer sheet? I texted it to someone, and they're like, oh, they'll match that, no problem. They're like, whoa, sorry. It said $18 million. I thought it said 8, which would make him the highest AAV player in the NHL right now. So this is an early look at some off-season champs candidates. I put 5 in. I don't know, like, I put in Utah. They were kind of my 5th pick. I like the Trocheck move. That was good. They got Casa in net. I don't think they've done a ton. Oh, yeah, they traded away Paterka for picks. I don't think they've done a ton, but they're a team that's always lurking. Maybe there's more coming from the Mammoth. We'll wait and see about this Hayton offer sheet, if they match or they get a second-round pick for him. So I like Utah. I don't think they're number 1, but I think they're a team that I have an eye on. I'm not sure where you stand on Utah.
Yeah, Utah, I mean, I think they did some good work. I would probably put them more towards the bottom, thinking of a couple of the other teams that you're probably going to put in. But
Anders Lee, they did sign as well for a low contract, too. I forgot about him. So
yeah, 3-year deal. We'll see how that one ages. But, this is your call. You were the...
Look, I needed a team for 5. St. Louis was one I considered as well. Getting Mason McTavish. I like the Kyrou trade for them, drafting Tynan Lawrence. I thought St. Louis made some nice moves, but we're pulling hairs here.
Let's go Utah at 5.
Utah 5. Okay, Washington Capitals. Love, I don't care about, so what if the Tuck contract doesn't look great down the line? I'm talking about this year. I think they've done some really nice work getting Jordan Kyrou, signing Alex Tuck, keeping Ovechkin for another year. This Desharnais contract, well, maybe a little bit questionable, but I like what the Caps have done. They've been aggressive. They've signed some free agents. I like the Caps. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them, but I think they are.
I think they're right up near the top. I mean, they went and used the 3rd-round pick to get Tuck. I thought that was great. I think Jordan Kyrou is one of the softest players in the league, but he can score. I'm not sure whether he's going to be a guy that's really leading you in the playoffs, but regular season, you want to get there, he'll be good. And listen, he's not going to be leaned on, I think, like he was maybe needed to be leaned on at times in St. Louis. So, no, I'm with you. I think that they did a heck of a job. And, of course, Ovi's back on a great deal, just 4.25. So, add all that in. I think they're in a pretty good spot. So, yeah, to me, they're in the top couple. I don't know who the other team.
I'll put them at 2. They got Boone Jenner as well, Huss, and the Prodas bros, Ilya and Alexei. Ilya stepping into the lineup, and Cole Hudson. Was he gonna have a bigger role this year? He's not on the daily face-off lines, but he was.
Trust me, he's gonna be there.
And Kyrou, you mentioned soft. I just think about Logan Stanley laying him out in the playoffs.
Basically eliminated him from the entire series at that moment.
Yeah, so I'm putting them
2.
I'm putting them 2. Okay, Toronto Maple Leafs. Draft Gavin McKenna. You win the lottery. Sergei Bobrovsky, number 72. By the way, Huss, he's going to be wearing 72, so everyone who got a McKenna 72 jersey, it's too bad, I guess. Some other moves, Jack Roslovic, Colton Sissons, but basically I think winning the draft lottery was a big boost for them and kind of changed the trajectory of the franchise a little.
Well, I mean, they also got Darren Radish, who was
that was the one, yes.
8 by 8.5. I mean, listen, they just got Nick Paul yesterday. He's completely flipped over that roster. I mean, you can decide how good or not you think the Leafs are going to be, but I would suggest that based on Chaika coming in, what he was tasked with doing to make this team better, more competitive right now, and a team that can compete, I think they've done it. I think I got to put them at 1.
You're okay. Fine. We'll put them at 1. I have some other teams in there, but here we'll do 1 for Toronto. The early look at off-season champions. How about this one? Florida Panthers. They did trade for Brady Tkachuk. And that really fantastic trade for them. The Mackie Samoskevich trade. They traded him away. To Seattle. But I think this is just, hey, you reunite the Tkachuk bros together. I mean, this team's looking pretty stacked. In goal, maybe a bit questionable with Markstrom and Akira Schmid, but I think they've stayed on top here, Huss, as a Stanley Cup favorite, with the moves they did make, and also Radko Gudas at a very cheap 6-year contract.
And you know what? They've also re-signed Luostarinen. This sort of slipped through the cracks, but an 8-year deal at $5 per. He's been such a big part of that team. That deal will be a bargain moving forward, at least for the first 5 or 6 years. So listen, that's nice. They were already a big bad team. They've got it even more. Yes, Patty's in the chat. Hang the banner. Off-season champs. We've been there before, Pat. It doesn't always turn into regular season, but you got to enjoy the moment. You've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks to fly the flag. Florida's in. Who's the last team, Reem?
And yeah, here's the thing about being the off-season champs. It never translates to regular. We remember the Jets were the off-season champions one
Nashville, when that was the first banner we raised, actually, as off-season champs. And that,
I think, back on the radio station, remember Dallas had a crazy off-season, and we gave them off-season, maybe the inaugural off-season champs banner, and it did not work out at all. And then they made the Stanley Cup a couple years later with Anton Khudobin. But whoever wins this, it doesn't mean you're going to be good at all. Last team, I got the San Jose Sharks in, just with the draft. Trading away.
The way the draft broke for them, and the Eklund trade.
Yeah,
the Eklund trade, getting number 9. So you get Stenberg. I think they didn't want to pass on him, but they also realized their needs were on D. And, we'll see how that Nurse... Bottom line is they had so much cap space for, to handle a 9-point. Is Nurse overpaid? Sure. Can he play? Absolutely. They needed defense desperately. They got Trouba. They got Nurse. 4 or 5 years down the road, we'll see how things go. Well, I mean, I guess the Trouba deal is 4, and they've got 4 left. But, I mean, the huge moves for them was winning the lottery, getting into number 2. And I got to tell you, that San Jose team that, showed life all season long and sort of failed or faltered at the end, they're good. And we should mention Mason Marchment, too. That's a really nice ad. That's a really nice ad for them. So there you go. Leafs, Caps, Panthers, Sharks, Mammoth. Those are the early off-season champions power poll for Chud's Power Sports. I'm glad Patty's in the chat. We're sweating out the extra time right now between Australia and Egypt, not only for my sister and my little Aussie niece and nephew, am I pulling for them, but we're also on Aussie to qualify. So this is going to be fun. Let's take a look at what's going on. By the way, I mentioned that promo. Many of you guys are going to be out at qualifiers over the next little bit. I'll see you at some of them for the PGA Scramble. Make sure to go to the promotions tab over at CoolBet. Click on that golf trip of a lifetime if you haven't already. Opt in and then press submit every time you bet, whether it's the CFL or golf. Golf, you get 5 times your ballot. CFL, you get 3 times. But whether it's World Cup, whether you're in the casino, you'll just get credit for anything that you're playing. And all it takes is one, a chip and a chair, as they say, and you could have the golf trip of a lifetime to Cabot Cliffs and Cabot Links. So if you haven't done that yet, just go and do it in the promotions page. We can also make sure that you're getting into our weekly CFL Pick'em contest, and with a chance to win to the Grey Cup and so much more that's going on. Always a good time just to check over on what's kicking over on the promotions tab over at CoolBet. As far as tonight goes, we've got some more great action in the World Cup. Argentina going up against Cap Verde. The Argentines, I should say, are a massive favorite. I've got Argentina -2, so I got Argentina winning by 3. I think my favorite bet after talking with Awanik today for Colombia-Ghana is going to be both teams to score. And I'm going to I think I did put that in now that I think about it. Checking my bet history and open tabs, although my computer is very slow right now. A combo on those two for today's action. Now, what we're going to really need to dive into is Canada. Canada-Morocco tomorrow is at noon. Listen, Canada's a big dog in this game. Plus 445 to win in reg. Plus 255 for a draw. Morocco's minus 125 to win. To qualify, Canada plus 225, Morocco minus 263. But you know Pat and Jake and the Cool Bet boys were going to give us the best number on the market if we wanted to support Canada. So if you go into the specials, or the exclusives, I should say, you'll see it right there. Canada World Cup specials. The Super Boost is Canada to qualify versus Morocco. What number do you have there, Reem?
Canada Super Boost plus 280.
Yeah, plus 280. It just popped up a little bit. So plus 280. And if you think that Alphonso Davies has one in him tomorrow, how about this? And he must start. You won't be charged. It's a refund if he doesn't start. 9-1 for Fonzie. So jump on those in the exclusives. If you want just a little bit of sprinkler support for Canada, you won't see a better number anywhere than plus 280 for the boost. While we're in the exclusives, Hammer's 3-gamer, the Ride with Hammer from CFL 110, starts tonight. Ottawa plus 5.5, Elks minus 1.5, Ticats minus 3.5. That one is boosted up to plus 725. There is incredible action, though, in the World Cup after Canada over the course of this weekend. I think I've got too many tabs open because my computer is running a little slow. But the game that you're going to want to look at is Sunday night, Mexico and England. I maintain that England is going to be going into maybe the biggest road deficit, or conversely for Mexico, the biggest home advantage you will see in team sports anywhere. The elevation, the crowd, the nonsense around them while they're there. And I do have one. This is one that I like, that I've picked for tonight. So tonight, Argentina win to 0, minus 170. Tomorrow, France -1, minus 153. So France to win by 2. And Mexico to qualify against England. Those three together, plus 462 right now over at CoolBet. But I'm on the Super Boost. And right now, what we're doing is sweating out this Argentina-Egypt game. So much going on over at CoolBet right now. Don't forget, we got poker. Now the next qualifier is on Wednesday, July the 8th, 8 p.m. Congratulations to everyone that qualified for the final in the first one. 2 spots. It was a little different the first time. There was a bunch of people in, so it added a couple. This time it'll just be the 2 of additional prizes if you finish out of that. But 8 p.m., mark it down. Other poker dates. And again, this is for the final because we're sending someone to Estonia for the CoolBet Open, one of the biggest poker events in Europe every year. It is an incredible trip. You'll be taken care of very well by the CoolBet gang. 3 chances to qualify. Next Wednesday, the 8th, Tuesday, July 21st. The last chance qualifier is Wednesday, August the 5th, and the final is the following week. If you're the last man standing and you win the final, you'll be off to represent Canada at the CoolBet Open in the first week of September. Looking forward to seeing you guys out for that next week. All right, Remo, I've got my bets in for the World Cup, for the CFL. We did the power poll. Now it's time to do some marbles. What do we got cooking today?
Well, I'm just like refreshing X here to see about if there's any more offer sheets. Like if we got a Connor Bedard offer sheet, and I did see former Florida Panthers assistant GM Steve Warrior on X suggests like a Pavel Mintyukov offer sheet would be a good time. Would only cost about $4.7 million, and for a second round pick to sign him to an offer sheet. We're looking for a defenseman. And okay, is that true? That there's no way that it's true.
Anytime you start a statement with "Is that true?" I get worried when we're live on the air.
I don't know if this is a joke or not. You see a lot of stuff out there that's satire. So Thomas Drance trying to be funny here. I will see.
Those athletic guys are always trying to be cool. By the way, listen, get the Marble Race song ready. I neglected to do one thing. I neglected to make my official pick for Joey Chestnut tomorrow at the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Folks, he is a minus 2,500 whatever favorite. He's going to win. So don't worry about that. There is a market on the hot dog contest without Joey Chestnut, sort of like the old days when you're betting golf without Tiger Woods or recently without Scotty Scheffler. But Coolbet has it all in the popular category on the left. You'll see the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. The over-under for Joey is 70.5 dogs. I don't think I can back the Joey Chestnut beating his record of 76 hot dogs. It's plus 425 if you want to bet on history. But I'll tell you what, I do think that after, only going for 66 last year, Joey Chestnut can get to 71. The over is plus 115. And let's face it, this is in New York, a star-studded lineup of competitive eaters. And then, with the clout that Joey Chestnut has for what he's done for the sport, I wouldn't be surprised if he finished the night as a guest of honor at the Kelsey Swift wedding. He's that big of an international star. Let's go. And he can't show up there if he hasn't at least hit the over on total hot dogs and buns eaten. We're going to go Joey Chestnut, plus 115 on over. I believe in Joey. Miki Sudo, by the way, in the women's category, 4-1 to beat her record of 51 dogs, setting new limits in the world of women's competitive eating. Miki's, again, a huge favorite right now. And if you do want to pick outside of Joey Chestnut, I like James Webb at 5-1. Pat Deep Dish Bertholetti has been around for a long time and is certainly a contender, but I do think it's going to be a young upstart that will be the challenger. We're going to go with Webb. Jeffrey Esper's been around as well. Give me James Webb 5-1 to win the men's competition without it all. All right, there you have it. 4th of July. It's just not as big of a deal tomorrow for us here north of the border because it's Canada-Morocco in the World Cup. But I will be paying close attention. I'm sure TSN2 will have that, or it'll be streamed online. We're into the second half of extra time. Could be getting to penalties, so let's get this marble race going. Hit the music, as they say. Tristan Rivers' music sets us up for marbles.
All right, let me pick one. It is, it's Country Thunder tonight at the Bomber Stadium. So, sure, why not go with this version of the marble race?
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream truck or a bottle of beer. Phone the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give blind luck a try. It's time to do a marble race. No excuse truck.
All right, Reem, well, you get that set up. Pat is in the chat, and he said, hey, we need a Huss's Glizzy Gladiator special. I think we go Joey with the over 70.5, and let's take James Webb to finish second to Joey. This could be a great number. I mean, it's plus 115 for Joey to hit that number, and Webb is 5-1. This could make up for any bad soccer and football picks I have all weekend. We'll try and get that up in the exclusives. If you do want to have some fun with the hot dog contest, all the odds are there. But check in the exclusives, and hopefully we can get the Glizzy Gladiator special up. And yes, T. Will has mentioned in chat, Huss has barely gushed over the wedding at all. He's going to get his Swiftie membership revoked. I blame the World Cup. You know what? And I blame them for doing it right in the middle of the World Cup with our team playing tomorrow. But I would like to officially, on behalf of everyone at Winnipeg Sports Talk, wish Travis and Taylor a wonderful wedding with you in spirit. I know Remis was speculating that Zach Caleros. By the way, no quarterback availability today in closed practice. Where is Zach? We have no idea. But if all of a sudden we see Drew Brown starting on Sunday, we'll know what's going on. But yes, big wedding this weekend. I'm sure TMZ and everything will have us well covered for North America's royal wedding. Let's do marbles. Where are we playing today, Reem?
Yeah, no Zach. We don't know. Sorry, no quarterbacks available to the media today. And
interesting.
Very interesting. Tomorrow's media schedule. They're traveling to Hamilton. Selected players and head coach Mike O'Shea at the team hotel at approximately 2:30 Central. Closed practice today. Explicitly said in the release, no quarterbacks will be available. I believe it said that. Maybe I could be making it up. I thought I saw that before. It's not...
Anyways, there's a lot of mystery about the wedding.
It says quarterbacks. Okay, bold letters in the email. Quarterbacks not available. Look, I said this last week.
Directed specifically at us because he knew we'd try to go. So, anyways, about Saturday, not Sunday, which is the game in Hamilton.
CFL's having,
it's a night game.
Yeah, it's Sunday night game. You could do both. I don't think that would be smart. It's like when Vince Carter went to the graduation and then played. Like, although, I mean, if he makes that shot, we're having a different conversation. But I said before, they're getting John Gruden to do all these CFL videos. It is worth more to the CFL for Zach Collaros to be photographed at this wedding in any capacity. Gives them a cool factor more than playing a Sunday night game. Now, if this was the Stampede Bowl, I would say you need him in there for revenge. But look, this is a Sunday night game. It's early in the season. Yes, that's a legit game, Stampede Bowl. It's Sunday night. Way more worth to the CFL for marketing to have him at this wedding photographed in any capacity. And I love it. I have no idea.
Ooh. We got the ride with Huss up right now. This is France -2. So I guess we've added an extra goal. Can France win by 3? I think they can. It's a way bigger number. Plus 925 is up there right now. We got a nice super boost as well. Davies to get a shot on net. Jonathan David to get a shot on net. That's +1. And as I say, we'll work on the Glizzy Gladiator for tomorrow. That one will probably be in the exclusives, I would think, but it won't be. All right, Remo, let's do this. It's time. We need to finish this race because we're getting down to the short strokes of this Aussie-Egypt game. What track are we?
Yeah, one sec.
Come on, it's 3:30. How can we not be ready to do this?
Okay, sorry. We have 190 marbles in the race. Oh, 3:30. Wow. It got late. Let me put this in. Sorry, I was just sitting here refreshing Kevin Weeks' X account, waiting for the next offer sheet to be announced.
Listen, Weeks has screwed up enough stuff for everyone this week. Let's not allow him to take this off the rails even more than it already is. Please.
I'm giving a marble to Vigo Bjork.
Yeah, Vigo, definite marble.
I'll give him a marble. That's it. We don't need to hand out so many.
No, give me one and Vigo one, and we're good to go.
We gotta cap the honorary marbles. Sometimes we go overboard, and then they win, and then people get mad. But they keep asking us to put in more of, like, celebrity marbles. So, like, it's lose. Anyways, what's the date today? July 3. Marbles. Okay, I'm ready. Sorry, got way carried away there, Huss. Today's show. I just gotta wake up.
Pat has just told me while you load this up that it's the 3-way money line. So if France wins by 2, it cashes because there is the draw option. So I like that. I like that a lot. We are ready to go. That is up. I'm locked in. Big win for Argentina today, France tomorrow. And then the idea was to get a couple winners and then set up Sunday night, Mexico, England, with some real stakes on the game. So that is what I'm hoping it. We got 114th minute right now, extra time. The Egyptians and the Aussies right now. And this has been a heck of a sweat. And it's going to continue to be. But let's do this. Let's do this marbles so we're not in the middle of a marble race when there are penalties on, please.
Okay, B. Henderson wanted the Temple of Steve today. I don't think we've done that for a while.
Temple of Steve, sure. That is that's what you're not in until you're in with the Temple of Steve. And the Glizzy Gladiator is up as well. Oh, look at this one. It's almost 14-1 for Chestnut to hit the over and James Webb to finish second. That is nice. All right, let's do this. By the way, we do have another super boost that just got added. Messi to score and Dylan Cease over 6.5 pitching strikeouts tonight. Boosted from even money to plus 161.
So I got the marbles in, 192 marbles, including Vigo Bjork and Hustler.
Right on. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to Vigo. Hope you enjoyed his first week in the PEG. We can't wait for training camp and the start of the season to see him get some action in prime time. Here we are, Temple of Steve, finishing up some great World Cup action, getting into the weekend. The marbles are dropped, going into the big funnel. Good luck to you all. There's big Les Thompson right off the bat. Great to see Les at the game on the weekend. There's Bozeman, my rival, who, a couple guys that we didn't see that are regulars, and we had such a great crowd. T. Will, we missed T. Will, and we missed Tyson. Saw your tag team partner, Wayne Gretzky, out there. He was having a good time. Tyson's in first right now, so I figured I'd give him some brain damage for not being able to get his passport out and get out of Transcona for a night and join us downtown. But here we go. Tyson
he's in first. He's in first now.
Ryan Dry, Yakman, Keith Bartell is also in the mix. Chucker, Jambus, B. Henderson, Donnie Boy. What's up, Donnie Boy? Great to see Bobby. 3 generations of the Bobby B. Sports Talk, Winnipeg Sports Talk clan with us as well. Should give a shout out to Kelly, who brought her girlfriends. It was great to meet her and the gang. Although Kelly is not a chatter and is not a marble racer, but is a very, very loyal fan of the show. It's great to see her and her gang. All right, Keith Bartell's in first right now. What else do we have here? The XX Revolution. XX Revolution's always in the mix, it seems. Oh, Mike Wynn, the Win Dog. I don't think the Win Dog ever has a win. One Bird. Look at this. Okay, here we are, folks. We all remember you can, you're not in until you're in. And depending on which side you went, it could be tough. Who is it going to be? The end of the Temple of Steve, always incredible. Did someone make it? Yeah, Tyson did it. Mike wins second. Ray OG third, Keith Bartell fourth, Elias McCracken, but the big guy, Tyson D 204. Shocking that his number isn't actually Tyson D 420, but it's Tyson D 204 officially. The pride of Transcona, one of the individuals that we missed on Tuesday at the ballpark. And you will not miss him with his shirt off in the North End in the fourth quarter of the next Bomber game at Princess Auto Stadium next Friday. Finishing up the run. And the funny thing about this is, like, if you don't catch your marble going down, you have no idea whether you got into the hopper or you ended up being out. Let's see who finished and who didn't. Tyson, the champion for a Friday afternoon here on WST. If you need a washing machine, a dishwasher, or a fridge, hit up Tyson. All right, Remo, final results, please. All right, there we go. So the top 10, Winnipeg Puck, Comet, Laurie Jim, Jamming, Mark Amph. Nice. Oh, Vigo Bjork. Hold on a sec. Go back up there for a second. Where did Vigo?
17.
Look at Vigo. Just everything he does, he's good at right off the bat. Good at marbles. 17th in. Earl James. Let's see. Sharpie Dogs there. Amanda, nicely done this week. D. McCallick. I'm looking for myself. Mr. V-Dub. Snackatoba. Royal Sports. Danielle Roy. Nicely done, Danielle. And then the rest of us, whether it was early or whether it was late, we didn't end up getting into the funnel. And it was an L. All right, gang. Listen, they're just about finished this. If you are around a TV, I'd suggest getting to the World Cup because I think we're about to be looking at penalties unless something crazy happens in the last few minutes. Been a great week. Check our socials and YouTube channel. Connor's got more coming from development camp. We're at Winnipeg Sports Talk. And, of course, Sunday morning will be WST Sunday Live with Connor and Liz. They've been down at development camp. They'll have lots on the young Jets as well as all the big news in and around the hockey world. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors and all of you for making us a part of your day. Been a great week. I will look forward to talking to all of you on Monday. In the meantime, let's go, Canada. This is our time. Our time, everybody. We shock the world tomorrow against Morocco, noon. Here we are. There we are. There's the right one. Canada Soccer. My special Canada Soccer scarf. Been to Qatar and back. It brings us our greatest victory tomorrow in Houston, noon. Enjoy yourself wherever you'll be watching the game and have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.